Our MC is the absolute supreme lord of the underworld, a walking nightmare with eyes that promise death. But what happens when the Demon King accidentally adopts a human baby, who grows up dreaming of becoming a hero, just so she can brutally execute him? Let's rewind. He normally commands legions of horrifying monsters. He spends his days lounging on a throne of pure authority. Nobody in their right mind dares to disrespect him. But his blood-soaked reputation goes straight out the window the day he brings home a crying infant. Our MC just stares at her screaming face in total panic. His top male commander, Luke, prepares a destructive magic spell to silence the child and gets his face smashed straight into the floorboards for his stupidity. Our MC resorts to frantic research. Yeah, he uses high-tier dark teleportation magic just to change a dirty diaper. And when it is time for lunch, he tries serving raw monster meat straight off a bone. His blonde subordinate reads that human babies need milk and literally offers his own bare chest. Before our boy finally tracks down a normal bottle. It is a total disaster of an upbringing. Luke even tries casting a high-level sleep spell, but the infant completely resists the magic. The screaming continues, leaving the ruler of hell nursing a massive headache. But then, she flashes a bright smile. He lifts her high into the air and realizes that against all odds, he has officially become a dad. Fast forward a few years, and our MC is whipped beyond belief. He showers his adorable daughter, Celine, with relentless affection. Yeah, he even threatens to quit his job as the Demon King just because she asked to go out and eat pasta. The little girl refuses to let go of his hand, and our boy decides he will do anything to keep her happy, including walking straight into holy territory. The literal king of demons forces himself to stand inside a human church and actively pray to the goddess of light, just to keep up appearances as a normal father. Quick pause, 99% of you aren't subscribed. Hit it now so we can hit 1,000 subs and make more god tier recaps. Alright, back to our boy. His peaceful day gets completely derailed when a massive mutated boar crashes through the solid brick wall. The beast charges straight down the aisle, locking its glowing red eyes on our MC and his little girl. The local priests run for their lives in sheer terror, and our boy realizes he has a major problem. He cannot use his dark powers in front of everyone without blowing his cover. Celine is trembling in fear, so he asks her if she wants to play a game. He tells her to close her eyes and count, promising that the scary monster will disappear before she finishes. He flashes a warm, trusting dad smile, and the second she nods, scrunches her face shut and starts counting. Our MC catches the beast charge with one bare hand. His soft dad persona vanishes, and he unleashes a devastating blast of pure energy, obliterating the massive threat into a red mist. The priests are left staring with their jaws on the floor. Selene looks at the massive crater and declares that her dad is the most amazing person in the world, delivering a critical hit straight to his heart. But there is a massive complication. That's the humans just witnessed a display of godlike strength and assume he must be a legendary hero. Celine's eyes light up with pure admiration. She asks if he really is an apostle of justice. Our MC starts sweating bullets, but he cannot say no to that face, so he strikes a pose and agrees, even though he knows it is pure nonsense, and that single lie creates a catastrophe. Later that night, she wraps her arms around him and tells him she loves him more than anything, but she reveals there are two things she hates. She smiles a sweet, innocent smile and says the first thing she hates are liars, which makes our boy flinch, and the second thing she hates is the Demon King. She promises she is going to become a great hero and execute him herself. Our MC's brain short circuits. His top commander, Luke, offers him soup and finds the whole irony hilarious, laughing straight in his face. So our boy punches him straight through the floor out of pure stress, leaving him to figure out how to survive his own daughter. While Luke's soul leaves his physical body, Selene comes running in. She ignores the unconscious commander on the floor and tells our MC she is going to try even harder to become an amazing hero. Xion realizes he needs a strategy to make her quit without breaking his loving dad persona, but standard discouragement won't work. She is already bench pressing boulders for the village elders and capturing mutated monster bugs with her bare hands. Her innate talent is a freak of nature. Luke suggests wiping out all of humanity to solve the problem at the root, which earns him a heavy book straight to the face. Our boy decides on a psychological approach, bedtime stories. He reads her classic fables about brave knights marching off to fight evil, but he changes the ending so the hero just dies out of nowhere, hoping to show her that the Demon King always wins and heroes are useless. Celine hates this version of the story. She tosses the book aside. She asks our MC if he ever fought the Demon King in person. Xion seizes the golden opportunity to strike pure terror into her heart. He spins a tale about the Dark Lord being an unstoppable, horrifying nightmare. The sheer terror makes her burst into tears, and Xion thinks he finally won. Ill until she wipes her eyes and promises to become strong enough to avenge her traumatized father. She even writes it in her diary. His brilliant plan backfired. The next morning, she maps out a massive daily hero training regimen. Xion is furious. They have failed 43 times to stop her ambitions. Her first task is completing daily good deeds to build character, but our MC refuses to let her earn a single hero point. point. He activates his superhuman speed and outpaces her at every turn, carrying heavy sacks for the elderly before she can even blink, digging ditches faster than any human alive. He exhausts himself running around the village just to steal her thunder. Then she surprises him with a shoulder massage to thank him for working so hard. A massage counts as a good deed. She earns her perfect stamp, and Cheyenne takes another loss. Next up is her academic study session. Cheyenne sends a high-ranking demon disguised as a fly to break her concentration. The bug circles her head, buzzing obnoxious noises to ruin her focus. Selene obliterates the demon with one casual lightning-fast punch. Her final task is a massive mountain run to build her stamina. Cheyenne spends all night placing horrifying monster traps and barriers across her path. He wakes up with a smug grin, anticipating her defeat, but then he looks outside and realizes it is pouring rain. Selene just stays indoors and hits a punching bag 500 times instead. The ruler of the underworld concedes defeat. A parent can never outsmart their own kid. Years pass in the blink of an eye, and the little girl grows into a capable teenager. Selene turns 16 and receives an official acceptance letter from the prestigious Hero Academy. The day of her departure arrives, and Cheyenne acts like a total mess, sobbing uncontrollably. She promises to visit during the holidays, handling the goodbye much better than the Lord of Darkness. With an oversized broadsword slung over her shoulder, she heads out the door. Her grand adventure to become a world-class hero begins right now. Back in the Dark Realm, Cheyenne sits upon his throne of skulls, his gloomy aura restored. Luke delivers an urgent report. A rogue hero has shattered their frontline defenses. This unknown human is treating their impenetrable borders like a casual walking path. Cheyenne cracks his knuckles. He decides to handle this foolish intruder himself to vent his stress. Meanwhile, Selene is riding a merchant carriage toward the city, fast asleep. The carriage hits a bump, waking her up in a panic. Her massive weapon swings backward and smashes the driver square in the face. She has to hand over her entire allowance as compensation for the medical bills. Penniless but optimistic, she arrives in Arca, the sprawling city of heroes. The smell of fresh pastries hits her nose. She stares at the bakery display, drooling over the honey butter rolls. But her empty wallet brings her back to harsh reality. She has zero money for food. She drags her feet through the streets, on the verge of collapsing from hunger, when a stray cat runs past with a stolen piece of bread in its mouth. The cat drops the scraps on the cobblestone, and Selene is so hungry, she considers sharing it with the strays. She sits on a nearby bench, now she's looking pathetic when she spots another girl. The girl has striking blue hair and a timid personality. They exchange a look and bond over their shared misery. Selene declares them best friends, but their bonding session gets cut short when a wealthy noblewoman approaches. She addresses the blue-haired girl as Silber. Silber's mother glares down at Selene, disgusted that her daughter would associate with a commoner. Silber lowers her head and follows her mother away without a word of protest. The scene shifts to the massive courtyard of the Hero Academy, packed with incoming freshmen. The principal watches from his balcony. This year's roster is packed with elite prodigies, including a genius mage named Ronya from a powerful bloodline, an A-rank mercenary named Harkcus, and Lebic de Annes, the highly arrogant second son of a legendary swordsman family. Lebic spots Silber in the crowd and approaches her with a cruel smirk. He mocks her dreams, fully aware that she lacks the backing to stand up to him. He calls her a useless puppet and reminds her she is merely the daughter of a concubine. Silber trembles as his harsh words cut deep, but before he can finish his insult, a blur of motion rockets across the courtyard. Selene comes sprinting at maximum velocity and trips over her own feet. She goes airborne and crashes her boot straight into Lebic's face. The impact sends the elite noble smashing face first into the glass doors. Up on the balcony, the principal drops his papers in absolute shock. He checks her file. She is a countryside commoner who just flattened a top-tier noble in one hit. Oh, at that exact moment in the Dark Realm, Cheyenne tracks down the rogue hero. The intruder draws his twin blades, trying to look intimidating. Cheyenne stares down at him. The power difference is like comparing a matchstick to a supernova. He delivers one devastating uppercut that shatters the ground beneath them. The so-called hero goes limp midair. He never stood a chance against an angry father. Back at the academy, Lebic picks himself up. His face is bruised and his pride is shattered. Selene ignores him and grabs Silber's hands, thrilled to see her new friend again. Lebic demands to know what kind of freak she is, glaring with pure hatred. She turns around and apologizes for bumping into him. But then she delivers the ultimate insult without even realizing it. She says she thought she bumped into a fly because she felt zero resistance on impact. The disrespect shatters his fragile ego into a million pieces. Lebic commands his armored cronies to step up and teach this commoner a lesson. His boys crack their knuckles, unaware they are picking a fight with a girl trained by the ruler of hell. Selene thinks she just stepped on a bug. She flashes an innocent smile. Lebic's handler rubs his temples. His young master has an ego made of spun glass, and it just shattered. Silber panics. She tries to apologize for her new friend's literal dropkick to the face. Lebic refuses to let it slide. He steps forward to establish the academy pecking order on day one. He gets right in her face, completely ignoring the apology. He rests his hand on his sword hilt, ready to draw steel steel over a bruised cheek. Before things escalate, a new presence interrupts the tension with a sharp command. A woman steps right between them. The green-haired girl pulls both sides into an uncomfortably tight hug. Lebec stammers, his brain short-circuiting from the sudden physical contact. The girl releases them and brushes her hair back. Oh, she introduces herself as Chloe de Alshabeth. She flashes a warm, disarming smile. The name carries massive weight. Lebec recognizes her title, a saintess candidate from the Holy See. Chloe stands tall, projecting an aura of absolute authority without lifting a weapon. Lebec decides picking a fight with the church on his first day is a terrible career move. He backs off, but not without leaving a parting threat. He smirks, his aristocratic pride somewhat salvaged. He points a finger right at Celine and tells her she is next. Chloe glares at his retreating back. She has zero tolerance for bullies. A loud cough echoes across the courtyard, demanding everyone's attention. A scarred instructor steps out onto the elevated balcony. Instructor Musad commands silence. He announces the immediate start of the level test. Selena looks up, Oz intrigued by the prospect of a challenge. A glasses-wearing student named Wiggin steps up to provide unsolicited exposition. A holographic projection displays the Academy's ranking system, starting from bronze. The tiers climb all the way to diamond rank. Wiggin explains that higher ranks grant better division choices for the semester. He adds a grim detail: failing the test means instant expulsion. Celine points a finger to her cheek, processing the information. Wiggin keeps talking, despite the fact that Selene never actually asked him. Musad yells from the balcony to shut the whispering students up. He makes his philosophy crystal clear. Noble bloodlines and fancy recommendation letters mean absolutely nothing to him. They have to prove they deserve to breathe Academy air. He raises his heavy boot. He stomps down, splitting the solid stone courtyard with sheer physical force. A shockwave ripples through the crowd, silencing the remaining chatter. Musad orders the students to follow him. The terrified crowd complies. 5 swirling portals materialize in the grass. Musad lists the environments: a mine, a dense forest, a wide plain, a fortified castle, or a pitch-black underground labyrinth. These are virtual dungeons designed to test their combat limits. Lebec listens with his arms crossed, brimming with confidence. A pink-haired girl smiles, ready to secure her spot at the top. Musad gives them exactly 10 minutes to form balanced teams of 4. Celine, Silber, and Chloe huddle up. They are a party of 3. Selena looks around the crowded field for a 4th member. Chloe takes charge of the recruitment process. She grabs Silber by the chin. She teases the timid girl to lighten the mood. Celine introduces herself brightly, buzzing with combat energy. Chloe scans the remaining stragglers to find someone cute. Silber panics. She wants a balanced team composition, not a beauty pageant. She decides to deduce their roles based on their equipped gear. Celine carries the massive greatsword. She is the undisputed vanguard. Chloe is the saintess. Premium backline support and healing. Silber provides mid-range utility with her magic. She realizes they need a rogue or a scout to fill the final spot. A quiet, pale-skinned girl with white hair is standing right beside them. Her name is Shan. Nobody heard her approach, but the 4-girl squad is officially locked in. Now they have to pick their poison. Silber stresses over the dungeon choice. Celine points her fingers at the swirling vortexes. She uses the most advanced tactical method known to humanity: eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Musad watches them in his observation orb. They pick the fortress dungeon. It is notorious for having no straightforward solution. It requires strategy. The towering fortress gate stands closed in the virtual world. Musad leans in, curious to see how a team of rookies handles a siege. Celine clenches her fist, eyes sparkling with excitement. Silber nervously asks if their vanguard has a tactical plan. Celine lays out her master strategy: break the door down, find the boss, kill the boss. Silber thinks this is a terrible idea. She spots an alternative. She points out a small creek flowing toward the castle walls. Her eyes widen as she puts the puzzle pieces together. The waterway leads inside. It is a perfect route for a stealth infiltration. Silber turns around, proud of her tactical deduction. Chloe taps her shoulder and points to the empty space where Selena used to be. Silber realizes their vanguard went rogue. Celine sprints across the dirt with her slab of iron drawn. She leaps high into the air, ignoring the stealth option entirely. She tightens her grip on the hilt, bringing the blade over her head. The demon guards look up in sheer confusion. Celine swings the sword down with devastating momentum. Silber screams. She knows a normal sword cannot break reinforced gates. The impenetrable gates shatter into 1,000 splinters upon impact. Chloe claps her hands in pure delight. Celine turns back with a bright smile. The front door is open. Silber stares in absolute horror. The alarms blare. An entire army of demonic beasts swarms the breach. The horde charges forward to crush the intruders. Celine remarks that they brought a lot of friends. Silber panics. The numbers are overwhelming for a 4-man team. Chloe ties her hair back into a tight ponytail. She thrives in this kind of chaos. She steps forward with a confident smirk. Silber assumes the Saintess is going to cast a backline support spell. Chloe equips a pair of heavy spiked brass knuckles. Her version of healing involves blunt force trauma. Silber is stunned into silence. Chloe dashes past Silber, rushing straight into the fray along alongside Selene. The demon vanguard is insulted by the sheer disrespect. They mock the single human girl charging their lines. A massive demon swings a heavy warhammer right at Selene's head. Selene spins her greatsword like a helicopter blade, creating a localized steel tornado. The demon realizes his fatal mistake. Selene's eyes lock on her targets with lethal precision. The heavy hammer gets deflected. The impact rattles the demon's bones. Selene slices straight through his armored chest in a single motion. She catches her breath, scanning for the next threat. Chloe joins in, winking at the backline while she shatters a monster's jaw. Selene nods, acknowledging her teammates' raw power. The broken demon bodies litter the ground within seconds. Chloe delivers a brutal uppercut, lifting a heavy beast right off its feet. Consecutive swings from the greatsword turn the courtyard into a graveyard. Silber and Sean watch the carnage in stunned silence. A heavy thud shakes the ground beneath Selene's boots. A towering demon general stomps out of the keep, demanding to know who ruined his fortress. Selene locks eyes with the biggest target on the field. The general raises his blade, announcing his ultimate secret technique. He swings the weapon down. Selene brings her greatsword down from above, before his attack even clears his shoulder. She hits him with the force of a falling meteor. The lord of the fortress gets flattened into the dirt mid-sentence. The subordinate demons stare in horror. The boss was just one-shotted, as the system chimes. The holographic text announces the fortress dungeon is cleared. The team drops down from the exit portal back onto the academy grass. Selene stretches with a massive grin. She thought that was just the warm-up. Meanwhile, in the plain dungeon, Lebic faces down the lycanthrope boss. The massive wolf roars, baring its fangs. Lebic's team sets up a square formation to trap the beast. The monster leaps into the air for a plunging strike. Lebic executes a high-tier swordsmanship technique, cutting the monster down in a flash of light. His teammates look on in awe. He stands victorious as the system confirms the dungeon clear. Lebic steps out of the portal, adjusting his cuffs. The other students praise his lightning-fast, clear time. He smirks, expecting his name at the very top of the leaderboards. The scoreboard updates. As his team Selene takes first place with 5 minutes and 26 seconds. Lebic sees his name tied for second place. His eye twitches. He glares at the board in pure rage. Second place is a failure in his noble family. Selene happily swings Silber around in celebration, oblivious to the hatred directed at her. Lebic's teammate praises him for securing a solid start. Lebic grabs the boy by the throat, hoisting him onto his toes. His aristocratic pride is bleeding out. He refuses to accept that a commoner beat him. The teammate chokes, gasping for air. Lebic tightens his grip, demanding respect. He drops the gasping student to the grass. Lebic mutters a promise to make them pay for the insult. A dark aura bleeds off him as he stares daggers into Selene's back. A polished boot steps into the frame, and Selene notices the confrontation and tilts her head. A pink-haired girl points an accusatory finger right at Lebic's chest. Selene blinks in confusion at the sudden screaming match. Ronya, the genius mage who tied for second place, tells Lebic to step aside. She tells him to piss off and calls him a yellow fly. Lebic glares down at the abrasive mage. Ronya lowers her head, shadows obscuring her eyes. She calls him a kid, dripping with condescension. She declares she is a genius and refuses to share the spotlight. Lebic's anger spikes to a boiling point. Ronya unleashes a burst of explosive fire magic just to assert dominance. The flames wrap around her hands, ready to launch. She lunges forward, aiming right for his face. Lebic prepares to draw his sword. The tension shatters. Selene steps right into the middle, putting her bare hand on Ronya's fiery fist. Selene tells them both to calm down and stop fighting. Lebic and Ronya freeze, shocked that she stopped the magic attack without flinching. Ronya's towering bodyguard scoops her up like a misbehaving child. The bodyguard apologizes for his young lady's temper. Ronya punches his face in protest, demanding to be put down. Selene watches the chaotic scene play out. Ronya issues a warning over his shoulder. She vows to take first place next time. The bodyguard carries her away before she can start a war. Ronya munches on a piece of candy, her anger subsiding instantly. Lebic runs a hand through his hair in deep annoyance. He promises the next task will separate the weak from the strong. He turns his back on the girls and walks away. Silber hides behind Chloe. He's shaking like a leaf. She realizes they have made powerful enemies on day one. Lebic strides across the courtyard, plotting his revenge. Selene ignores the entire political conflict. She just wants a giant piece of meat. Instructor Musad returns to the podium to address the remaining candidates. The official results are displayed for the crowd. Musad notes that any team failing this specific test will be expelled. Luckily, every single team managed to scrape by. A collective sigh of relief washes over the students, but Musad shatters their comfort. The next round will not be so forgiving. Selene pumps her fists, ready for round 2. Lebic's eyes burn with determination. Multiple hands reach for a single red flag. Musad announces the game. Capture the flag. The scene cuts to a dark vaulted ceiling. And the rogue hero Shion punched earlier wakes up on the cold floor. He scrambles backward, grabbing his weapon, disoriented and defensive. He stares at the man sitting across the room. Shion sits upon his throne, radiating the suffocating aura of a supreme nightmare. The human stammers, assuming he is facing facing a high-level demon. A demon commander groans in the background, nursing a head injury. Xion rests his chin on his hand. He tells the human to guess higher. Higher! The hero guesses a top-level demon, then guesses one of the 4 heavenly demons. The realization hits him like a physical blow. He is staring at the actual demon king. Luke staggers into the throne room, carrying a massive pile of shopping bags and castle chores. Xion needs his assistant free to keep an eye on Selene at the academy. As Xion glares at his subordinate for ruining his intimidating monologue, he grips his fist in pure annoyance. Xion punches Luke out of frame for the interruption. He sits back down, a steaming bump on his own head from the stress. He turns his attention back to the trembling human and offers a deal. The hero realizes he is bargaining with the devil himself. He asks what happens if he declines the offer. Xion's demonic aura flares up, filling the room with crushing pressure. He hits him with a devastating punch to clear up any confusion. The hero scrambles up and accepts the deal without another word. Back at the academy, Musad explains the rules for the second test. He holds up a glowing golden artifact. It projects a massive topographic map upon activation. The red dots on the hologram display the exact locations of the hidden flags. Yet Chloe claps her hands, confident they will secure first place again. Musad tosses the bead into the air. A student points out a massive discrepancy in the numbers. Musad acknowledges the observation with a grim nod. There are 120 students remaining in the field, but the map only shows 80 flags. Musad spells it out. Only 80 students will pass this test. The remaining 40 will have their admission revoked immediately. Panic ripples through the crowd. A third of them are going home today. Musad asks if there are any other questions before the bloodbath begins. He prepares to dismiss them. A dark-haired mercenary raises his hand from the back of the crowd. Musad asks him to speak up. The mercenary's eyes are dead, devoid of any heroic ambition. He locks eyes with the instructor. As he asks if killing is allowed to take a flag. Selene flinches, genuinely surprised by the casual mention of murder. Musad questions his motive for asking. The mercenary clarifies he just wants to know the penalty. Musad states the test is purely about securing flags. Nothing else matters. A heavy boot steps forward. The mercenary stands directly in front of Musad. Musad warns him that careless killing will cast severe doubt on his hero qualifications. The mercenary stares back, unimpressed by the threat. He shrugs it off with a casual gesture. He claims tragic accidents happen all the time during field tests. He turns and walks away, leaving a chilling silence in his wake. Selene's eye tracks his movement. Her instincts tell her he is dangerous. The mercenary smiles a twisted, evil grin in the shadows. Selene looks deeply concerned. Wygan pops up to explain who the guy is. His name is Harkcus, A-rank mercenary team leader. He is known as the Weapon Master, capable of using any tool to inflict lethal damage. He commands high respect in the underworld for his brutal efficiency, but he is incredibly cold-hearted and cruel. He will do anything to achieve his goal. Wygan advises keeping a wide berth from him. Selene narrows her eyes, logging the threat. Wygan lists other dangerous competitors, including the Amuna sisters and the undefeated gladiator. He mentions Abigail the engineer as a wild card. Wygan is left talking to thin air as the girls walk away to plan their route. A boot kicks off the dirt. Even the starting gun fires. Teams sprint into the forest. Selene and her squad follow closely behind the vanguard. Selene declares they are heading straight into the thickest part of the forest. Silber hesitates, worried about the terrain. Selene insists it is the most direct path to victory. Silber warns her the dense trees will restrict her greatsword swings. Selene doesn't see the problem. She thrives in close quarters combat. Silber realizes Selene's raw strength makes environmental restrictions irrelevant. Ronya's team spots them from the treetops. Ronya orders her bodyguard to run faster and overtake the competition. The girls notice something glowing in the distance. Selene punches her palm, getting pumped up. They spot a red flag planted in a quiet clearing. It sits unguarded in the sunlight. Another team rushes in from the opposite side, claiming the prize. Selene smiles a confident, predatory smile. She bursts forward, leaving a cloud of dust in her wake. First come, first served. Silber and Chloe struggle to keep up with her insane sprint speed. The scene shifts to a dark, gaping cave entrance. A student crawls across the rocky ground, bleeding heavily from his head. He begs for mercy as a heavy boot steps near his face. Harkcus stomps down without a shred of hesitation. He stands over the lifeless body, holding his twin blades. He looks completely unfazed. The purge has officially started. Another student shakes in absolute terror, cornered against the rocks. The undefeated gladiator is brought to his knees, proving the title is just a marketing gimmick. Harkcus holds a captured red flag in his hand. He crushes the fabric in his fist, discarding it like trash. He draws his twin blades behind the terrified survivor. The student's eyes widen in pure, unadulterated fear. Harkcus slashes him across the back with lethal precision. Blood splatters across the stone walls. Harkcus surveys his handiwork. The level test has turned into a slaughter. Back in the daylight, the forest looks peaceful. A hand reaches deep into a hollow tree trunk. Silber's eye widens as her fingers brush against fabric. She sits on Chloe's shoulders, pulling out a hidden red flag. Chloe is genuinely impressed. It was really stashed in inside the bark. Selene asks how Silber knew exactly where to look. Silber scratches her cheek and admits a friend gave her a tip. Selene is confused by the vague answer. Silber stammers, now trying to explain without making it sound like she cheated. Selene leans in closer, demanding the truth. Silber opens her hands. A glowing green spirit fairy hovers over her palms. Selene's eyes sparkle with absolute wonder. Her new friend is a bona fide spiritist. Selene waves goodbye as the fairy flutters back into the canopy. Silber blushes, admitting she hasn't fully formed a contract yet. Selene doesn't care. She is still amazed by the magic. She drops the formalities and calls her Sil. Silber is deeply touched by the casual nickname. They officially declare themselves friends. The wholesome moment peaks. Silber smiles softly, feeling accepted for the first time. Chloe ruins the moment by pointing out that spirits rarely listen to humans. A single raindrop lands directly on Selene's head. Shan looks up at the sky. Sensing the shift in atmospheric pressure, thunder rumbles through the dark clouds, rolling over the mountains. The weather takes a sharp, violent turn. Selene calls out to Silber, breaking her train of thought. They have secured 3 flags so far. One more secures their passing grade. Liebig stands in front of a wall of fire, holding a flag. Ronya yells at him from across the clearing, adding to the chaos. Selene sneaks past the fiery rivalry, holding her own prize. Chloe stands beneath a divine aura, playing her Saintess card perfectly. Students willingly drop to their knees and hand their flags over to her. Silber holds their 3rd flag tightly, ignoring the ethical implications of Chloe's method. They celebrate their progress. The finish line is in sight. The rain begins to pour heavily. Heavy boots splash through the rising mud. The girls run through the downpour, desperate to find shelter. Silber spots a glow ahead through the trees. The dimensional bead shows the final red dot pulsing on the map. The target is located deep inside the dark cavern. Selene leads the charge inside, complaining about her empty stomach. Silber yells for them to hold on before rushing blindly into the dark. Chloe activates a spell in her open palm. A burst of holy light illuminates the cave and casts a warming buff over the team. Silber is incredibly relieved the Saintess can provide environmental support. The cave walls are rugged and ancient. Silber scrapes a rock against the stone, marking an X. Selene asks what she is doing. Silber explains it is a basic exploration tactic to track their path and avoid getting lost. Selene eagerly grabs her own rock to join in on the fun. The sound of rocks scratching against stone echoes through the tunnel. Selene draws a goofy caricature of herself, right next to Silber's precise marker. Silber is absolutely speechless. Selene looks ahead, her jaw dropping in awe. A beam of sunlight illuminates an expansive underground lake. Silber points out the stalactites hanging from the ceiling. She identifies the stalagmites rising from the ground. Chloe explains how they eventually connect to form stone pillars. The girls treat the deadly survival exam like a fun middle school field trip. Selene suddenly spots something deeply alarming near the water. Chloe's smile falters instantly. A dead student lies on the cave floor. He has an arrow protruding straight from his chest. The girls freeze in shock. The field trip is over. Outside, a mercenary reports to Harkcus. Real demonic beasts have been summoned across the testing site. A large bald mercenary asks for the next phase of the operation. Harkcus looks down, calculating the chaos. He notes the academy instructors are busy dealing with a monster outbreak. A scout rushes up, reporting that key hero candidates entered the cave system. Harkcus activates his glowing dimensional bead. The artifact tracks Selene's team deep inside the cavern. Harkcus declares there is no time to waste. His assassination squad prepares to move in and eliminate the targets. Back at the academy building, the grounds are eerily quiet. The principal wipes sweat from his brow, reading the mounting casualty reports. Then he realizes the instructors are spread far too thin to control the beast surge. He stands alone in the center of his massive office. Footsteps approach the doors rapidly. Heavy hands push the ornate doors open. Instructor Musad bursts into the room. He gasps for air, his face pale. Musad addresses the headmaster directly, breaking protocol. The principal looks up in surprise. He recognizes the scarred man immediately, but he calls him by a different name, Grave. Students outside the cave argue in a panic over how to fight the beasts. A mercenary slits a throat in the shadows while they argue. Inside the cave, Chloe examines the fallen student. Silber trembles, asking if a monster could wield a bow. Chloe shakes her head. There are no monster tracks around the body. Chloe pulls the arrow from the corpse with a wet tear. The arrowhead is clean steel, perfectly manufactured. Chloe notes that beasts lack the dexterity to craft fine weapons. This was done by a human, and they didn't even take the flag. Silber panics, realizing only fellow test takers are supposed to be in this area. An arrow whips out of the darkness and embeds itself in the ground right beside Selene. Selene tracks the trajectory instantly, her casual demeanor vanishing. Harkcus and his team step out of the shadows into the light. Harkcus stares them down, weapons drawn. A mercenary smirks, telling them they will soon be cold corpses. A female mercenary mocks them, telling them to beg like dogs. Harkcus grabs her by the face to shut her up. The girl stammers an apology to her leader. Chloe catches a specific name they whispered, Paraben. Chloe realizes instantly that they belong to the dark religion. Shan narrows her eyes, radiating pure hostility at the intruders. Harkcus remains dead silent. Chloe explains what the dark religion actually is. They are a heretic group that worships demons and slaughters innocent civilians. The Holy See has been hunting their leadership for years. Harkcus steps forward, unimpressed by the history lesson. Selene understands they are the bad guys. She readies her sword. Harkcus draws his twin blades from the scabbards on his back. He states that since their identities are blown, none of the girls are leaving the cave alive. Selene smiles. She warns him not to underestimate her team. Harkcus kicks off the stone ground. He launches himself forward with incredible burst speed. Shan's eye tracks his exact movement pattern. She intercepts him, dagger drawn, moving to protect the backline. Shan locks eyes with Harkcus, meeting his killing intent with her own. Harkcus throws a rapid flurry of dagger strikes. Shan dodges cleanly, slipping beneath his guard. She crosses blades with him, holding the heavy strikes back. She flips backward to gain critical distance. The mercenary sniper grins in the shadows. He takes aim at Shan while she is suspended midair. Shan deflects another rapid strike from Harkcus upon landing. Harkcus compliments her skill, but notes she relies far too much on emotion. Shan glares at him, refusing to back down. The sniper releases the bowstring. The arrow pierces straight into Shan's shoulder. Silber screams her name in pure horror. A massive mercenary swings a spiked chain mace. The iron ball hurtles directly toward the injured elf. Shan braces for the lethal impact, unable to move in time. Selene steps in, swinging her great sword to deflect the heavy chain. The massive mercenary gets yanked forward by the deflected momentum. Selene's eyes glow red with unadulterated fury. She screams that she won't let them get away with hurting her comrade. The sniper prepares another arrow, aiming for Selene. Silber commands her spirits to intervene. Harkcus swings his heavy chains again. A chain wraps tightly around a stone pillar. Shan pulls the arrow from her shoulder, bleeding heavily down her arm. Harkcus charges again, targeting the injured elf to secure the kill. Then Silber fires her own bow to provide covering fire. Green spirits guide her arrow's trajectory through the dark. The magic flares bright green. The arrow rockets toward Harkcus, surrounded by fairy light. Harkcus sees the spirits guiding the shot. He narrowly dodges the glowing projectile. He glares at the spiritist, adjusting his threat assessment. Chloe rushes in and scoops Shan into her arms. She carries her to safety behind a large rock formation. She presses her hand to Shan's bleeding shoulder to cast a healing spell. Shan tries to stand, declaring she will kill every single cultist in the room. Chloe looks at her with concern, recognizing her specific fighting stance. She asks if Shan is from the Halen Forest. Shan is shocked the Saintess knows her origin. Chloe knew her extreme reaction to the dark religion was deeply personal. Sean demands to know the instigator's name. The sniper interrupts them by firing another shot. Sean glares at the archer. She dodges the incoming arrow without breaking eye contact. Blood splatters across the floor as the violence intensifies. Silber watches the clash, completely terrified by the sheer killing intent. Selene looks on as her new friends are cornered and bleeding. Blood drips steadily from Shan's arm onto the cavern floor. Chloe holds Shan tightly, telling her to get her emotions under control before she gets killed. The female mercenary laughs at their camaraderie. She finds the whole display of friendship pathetic in the face of death. Selene stands up. Dense blue energy erupts from her body. She declares that she is genuinely, deeply pissed off right now. She levitates slightly, her great sword humming with raw magic. The mercenaries look confused by the sudden massive power spike. Lightning arcs across the cavern as Selene prepares to strike. The female mercenary's smug smile falters instantly. Harkcus realizes they severely underestimated the kid. With the oversized sword, Selene lunges. She covers the distance instantly. Her eyes are locked on the target with lethal precision. Sean and Chloe watch in absolute awe. Selene's eye trails blue lightning as she tracks the mercenary's micro movements. She swings the greatsword with devastating force. Harkcus barely brings his weapon up to block. He realizes he has to dodge, but her speed is incomprehensible. The blade connects, sending a massive shockwave through the air. Harkcus crosses his arms to absorb the sheer kinetic impact. Chloe realizes Selene just overpowered the Dark Order leader in one blow. Harkcus is driven to his knees, struggling against the crushing weight of the sword. Selene stands over him, surrounded by a crater of shattered stone. Harkcus grits his teeth, tasting his own blood. He admits out loud that he looked down on her too much. He covertly grips a hidden weapon. Chloe spots the subtle movement and yells a desperate warning. Harkcus realizes standard combat will not save him. He pulls a glowing purple mana stone from his coat. He crushes the crystal in his bare hand. The dark energy detonates outward, shattering the heavy iron chains binding his arms. Silber recognizes the horrifying process taking place. His eyes widen in sheer panic. The mercenary absorbs the raw, polluted mana, radiating from the dead monsters scattered across the cavern. Chloe grits her teeth. She knows exactly what this forbidden technique does to a human body. Harkcus sheds his humanity. His skin turns ash gray, and his muscle mass doubles in an instant. He draws his heavy blade, welcoming the kids to step up and try their luck. His eyes burn with unnatural yellow light. Selene tightens her grip on the great sword, blue lightning sparking across her arms. She refuses to back down. She lunges. A massive shockwave ripples through the cave as blue mana collides with demonic red energy. Selene strains against the overwhelming weight of the mutant's strike. Her eyes lock onto the mercenary, processing the sudden sudden spike in his power level. Chloe realizes the grim truth. Selena's raw strength is incredible, but Harkcus is now flooding his muscles with endless demonic energy to absorb every kinetic impact. Chloe spots a critical opening while the two titans clash. Harkcus drives his fist into the stone, attempting to shatter Selena's footing. Chloe prepares to intervene. She refuses to stand in the backline while her vanguard takes all the damage. Harkcus glares down at the little girl holding the massive sword. Chloe sprints across the rubble, leaving a trail of green light in her wake. Harkcus shifts his glowing eye toward the incoming saintess. Chloe drives her glowing fists straight into the mercenary's torso. The holy magic dissipates on contact. The impact does absolutely nothing. Chloe realizes her attack failed to penetrate his thickened hide. Harkcus retaliates with a brutal backhand, swatting the saintess away like an insect. He turns his attention back to his primary target. He flexes his back, revealing 4 new demonic arms sprouting from his spine. Shan drops from the ceiling, driving her dagger down in a lethal arc. She aims for the blind spot. Harkcus catches her midair and slams her onto the unyielding stone. The mercenary towers over the broken team, mocking their reliance on magic. He asks what a bunch of injured rats plan to do against overwhelming power. Silber trembles on the ground, now his legs paralyzed by pure terror. The multi-armed monstrosity looms over the timid spiritist. Silber watches the heavy iron pendant swing from the demon's extra hands. He squeezes his eyes shut, begging the universe for a savior. Harkcus tightens his grip on the weapon. A massive pillar of blue energy intercepts the lethal strike. Harkcus staggers backward, genuinely surprised by the sudden interference. Silber opens his eyes to find his new friend standing between him and death. Selene exhales a breath of visible, freezing air. The blue mana detonates around her, cracking the stone beneath her boots. Harkcus connects the dots. The intense pressure of the battle forced the girl's dormant mana to awaken. The mercenary chuckles. He readies all 6 of his weapons, eager for a genuine fight to the death. 2 swords cross over a magic circle, signaling a shift in the story. Back at the academy courtyard, a silver-haired instructor introduces himself as Grave. He tells the students he used to be an officially licensed hero. A flashback reveals a massive chest overflowing with gold coins and royal crowns. Grave explains he quit the hero business to become a wealthy treasure hunter. The memory shifts to a blood-stained thumb, pressing onto a parchment. The document bears the official seal of the underworld. Shion stands behind the terrified treasure hunter, enforcing condition number 1. Protect Selene at the academy. Condition number 2 is far more difficult. Grave must force her to quit being a hero on her own terms. In exchange, the Demon King promises to grant him a single wish. Grave asks to become the richest person on the continent. In the present, Grave sprints through the dense forest toward the testing site. He pushes his legs to the absolute limit. He remembers the unspoken final condition of his employment. If the Demon King finds a single scratch on his daughter, Grave forfeits his life. He clears the tree line and spots the gaping cavern entrance. He knows he is running out of time. A massive blast of raw energy erupts from the cave mouth, shaking the mountain. Grave pales, praying the kid with the giant sword is still breathing. Inside the dust-filled cavern, Chloe and Sean lie bleeding on the rubble. The saintess presses her hand against the elf's wound, but they are both losing too much blood. Silber watches in horror, feeling entirely useless. A blinding wave of blue light pushes the shadows back. Silber shields his eyes from the sheer kinetic force. The cavern walls groan under the pressure of the clash. The stone ceiling splinters and rains debris onto the battlefield. Silber stares at the crater forming in the center of the room. Selene trades blows with the mutant, matching his raw demonic strength with her newly awakened aura. Silber cannot believe she is holding her ground against a monster of that caliber. Selene grits her teeth, refusing to give an inch of ground. Harkcus pushes back, his 6 arms straining against the single great sword. Selene slides her back foot, digging into the stone for leverage. Chloe stirs from unconsciousness. She clutches her throbbing head. Her emerald eyes snap open. She spots the massive demon towering over the battlefield. Silber tries to reassure her, pointing to the glowing blue vanguard. He assumes the fight is already won. Harkcus absorbs a heavy strike, his demonic hide taking the brunt of the damage. He glares at the girl, calculating her energy output. Selene swings again, trailing ribbons of condensed mana. Silber praises her overwhelming strength. Chloe shuts his optimism down instantly. She knows the grim reality. Selene has no clue how to regulate her magic. She is burning through her reserves at a reckless, suicidal pace. Chloe narrows her eyes, calculating the remaining time. Selene channels even more energy into her weapon, unaware of the danger. Chloe warns that their vanguard will exhaust her core in a matter of minutes. Silber realizes the temporary advantage is about to vanish. Chloe clutches her injured shoulder, struggling to stand. She explains the mechanics of their world. Physical energy is stamina. When a fighter drains their stamina, they simply collapse. But mental energy operates on a different rule. The mind is the engine that generates mana. When the mana core runs dry, the damage is catastrophic. She watches Selene swing the heavy blade again. If her core shatters, she will lose her mind permanently. Selene Celine pushes forward, ignoring the warning signs in her own body. Silber screams her name. He begs her to end the fight immediately. Harkcus fires a concentrated beam of red energy straight from his chest. Celine winces as the heat grazes her cheek. She dodges underneath the blast, keeping her eyes locked on the target. Harkcus grins, calling her out for looking away. Celine snaps her attention back to the mercenary. She realizes he anticipated her dodge. Harkcus prepares to bring all 6 weapons down on her head. Celine drives her greatsword straight into the stone floor. Her fingers tremble on the hilt. Harkcus looks down at her, convinced he has won the war of attrition. He prepares to end it. He swings the chain mace down with lethal intent. A metallic click echoes through the cavern before the weapon connects. A silver blade severs the mercenary's arm cleanly at the shoulder. Harkcus staggers, processing the sudden loss of his limb. A massive beam of concentrated light pierces the cavern ceiling. Silber watches the divine intervention in awe. Harkcus clutches his stump, blood pooling on the rock. He stares at the newcomer in utter disbelief. A man dressed in black stands amidst the settling dust. He lets out a measured breath. Grave steps forward, his blade crackling with localized energy. Harkcus spits blood, his demonic regeneration failing against the precision strike. The A-rank mercenary collapses, dead before he hits the floor. Silber breathes a massive sigh of relief. The silver-haired man introduces himself as Instructor Grave. The scene cuts to the Academy infirmary, bathed in warm afternoon sunlight. The Academy doctor delivers a devastating prognosis. Celine lies unconscious in the hospital bed, her breathing dangerously shallow. Chloe watches her, guilt etching lines into her face. The doctor confirms the worst-case scenario. She went far beyond her physical limits. He warns that even if her body recovers from the strain, her shattered mana core might permanently prevent her from using magic again. And Silber grabs his head, drowning in guilt. He takes full responsibility for her condition. Chloe pulls him close, refusing to let him shoulder the blame alone. She forces a weak smile, trying to keep the team from falling apart. The doctor shakes his head. Modern medicine cannot fix a broken core. Chloe places a reassuring hand on Silber's shoulder. She insists Celine is too stubborn to let magic exhaustion keep her down. Silber looks up, desperate to believe her. Chloe suggests they prepare to greet their vanguard with a massive smile. Silber nods, wiping his tears away. Celine shoots up from the mattress like a reanimated corpse. She screams one single word at the top of her lungs: food. The team stares at her, completely flabbergasted by her priorities. Celine sprints out the door toward the dining hall before anyone can check her vitals. Chloe glares at the doctor. The critical medical condition was a vast overstatement. Title skip. The dining hall tables are packed with freshly baked bread and roasted meats. Celine is in absolute heaven. She demolishes a towering stack of plates that defies the laws of physics. Silber watches her eat, amazed by her freakish metabolism. Celine happily recounts how Instructor Grave swooped in at the last second to save them. She looks around the hall, noticing the heavy atmosphere. She stops chewing. Silber avoids her gaze. None of the other students are eating. Some hold their heads in despair. Celine lowers her skewer, asking what happened while she was asleep. Silber drops the terrible news. While they fought Harkcus in the cave, real demonic beasts swarmed the rest of the testing grounds. Celine is shocked. The virtual dungeon was supposed to be safe. Investigators found dark mana stones planted across the forest. The Dark Order orchestrated a coordinated terrorist attack right under the Academy's nose. Celine processes the sheer scale of the ambush. She wonders why a death cult targeted a bunch of unranked freshmen. Chloe adds that the Academy security forces managed to capture the rest of the cultists alive. The prisoners will be handed over to the Holy See for brutal interrogation. They plan to extract the cult's true motives from the survivors. Celine smiles, glad the bad guys got caught. Yet the magical intercom system crackles to life. The announcement orders all students to gather at the training ground. Chloe stands up, adjusting her uniform. The surviving students assemble in the massive courtyard, looking like ghosts. Graves stands at the podium and delivers the grim casualty report: 12 dead, 25 injured. He does not offer empty comfort. He reminds them that the path of a hero guarantees more casualties. He gives them an out. Anyone too terrified to continue can walk away right now. The reality of the massacre hits the freshmen hard. Several students break down and head for the exit, choosing survival over glory. The sun shines over the academy, uncaring about the tragedy. Grave watches the dropouts leave. The crowd has thinned out considerably. He addresses the remaining 72 survivors. He's officially appointing them as cadets. A murmur of excitement ripples through the bruised crowd. Grave raises a hand to quiet them. The evaluation is not over. The rest of the instructor's staff lines up behind him. The final phase of the entrance exam is a one-on-one spar with the professionals. Each student will receive a combat score out of 10 points. A fiery redhead unleashes a blast of magic, scoring an 8. A spear-wielding student scores a 7. Silber commands a barrage of earth spikes, earning a solid 5 points. Celine cheers for him from the sidelines. Silber wipes sweat from his brow, relieved he secured a passing grade. He thanks his glowing spirit companions for handling the offense. Chloe pinches his cheeks, teasing him for his reliance on fairies. A boot steps onto the stone ring. Chloe steps up and delivers a glowing mana-infused strike, scoring a massive 9 points. Celine claps, amazed by the Saintess's raw physical damage. Chloe sighs. She knows she could have scored a perfect 10 if she wasn't still injured. Sean lowers her head, blaming herself for Chloe's wounds. Chloe pats the elf on the head, telling her to let it go. A massive pillar of fire detonates in the center of the courtyard. The surrounding students shield their faces from the intense heat. Ronya stands amidst the flames, projecting an aura of absolute superiority. She channels raw thermal energy into her hands. She unleashes a localized inferno straight at her evaluating instructor. The instructor narrows her eyes, evaluating the immense output. She summons a shimmering blue wall of ice to intercept the blast. The collision creates a massive cloud of steam. Ronya smirks, confident she just secured the top rank. The instructor lowers her shield. Ronya stands untouched, her magic reserve still burning bright. The instructor announces the score, a perfect 10. The crowd goes wild for the undisputed top prospect of the freshman class. Silber is genuinely amazed by the sheer scale of the spell. Celine smiles. She loves having a strong rival. Across the courtyard, Liebig engages his instructor in a high-speed duel. He moves with the refined, flawless technique of his aristocratic bloodline. Silber notes, it looks more like a choreographed dance than a brutal fight. Silber taps Selene on the shoulder, pointing out the evaluating instructor. Selene realizes it is the man who saved them in the cavern. She mispronounces his name as Grape, and Silber corrects her. The man's name is Grave. Grave casually blocks Lebek's aggressive flurry. Lebek shifts his stance, preparing his family's signature move. He executes a blinding sequence of strikes. Grave deflects the final blow, stepping back to end the spar. Grave lowers his practice sword. He awards Lebek a perfect 10, repairing the noble's fragile ego. The crowd murmurs in awe. 2 perfect scores in one afternoon. Grave checks the next name on his clipboard and smiles. He calls Selene into the ring. Selene steps forward, her massive sword strapped to her back. A student watching from the crowd decides this academy is far too dangerous and plans to quit. Selene takes her position opposite the silver-haired instructor. Chloe and Shan cheer for her from the sidelines. They expect her to secure a top score since she cleared the level test first. Lebek watches from the crowd, recognizing the girl who kicked him in the face. A student notes she was the top ranker in the first phase. Lebek crosses his arms, eager to see the commoner humiliate herself against a professional. Ronya sits on her bodyguard's shoulders, waiting for Selene to fail. Grave readies his blade. Selene bounds up to him, entirely ignoring combat etiquette. She bows deeply, thanking him for saving her life in the dungeon. Grave waves it off, hiding his true motives. Selene points right at him and declares she will become the strongest warrior in the world. Grave sighs, wishing she would aim lower. She adds that she specifically plans to use that strength to obliterate the Demon King. Grave starts sweating profusely. The Demon King is literally paying his salary to keep her safe. He attempts to redirect the conversation. Selene grips her hilt, ready to begin. She kicks off the stone, launching herself forward with incredible burst speed. Title skip. She leaps high into the air, bringing the massive blade over her head. Grave watches the predictable trajectory. He analyzes her choice to open with a wide, almost slow vertical slash. Selene brings the slab of iron down. Grave notes that while the weapon looks threatening, the wide swing forces the user to overcommit and lose balance. He ducks under the heavy blade just as it shatters the stone floor. He taps the back of her knee, exploiting her compromised footing. He plans to teach her the fatal flaw in her unrefined brawler style. Selene recovers quickly, shifting the weapon's momentum. She unleashes a horizontal sweep, aiming to cut him in half. Grave brings his sword up to intercept. He catches the strike, absorbing the kinetic energy without taking a step back. He realizes her reaction speed is phenomenal, but she telegraphs every single movement. Selene grits her teeth, pushing against his guard. Grave parries the heavy metal, sliding the force away. He redirects the impact to the ground. He stands unharmed while Selene catches her breath. He steps inside her guard, moving faster than she can track. He tightens his grip on his second blade, but he drops it, deciding she is not dangerous enough to require both hands. The crowd murmurs in confusion. They realize the instructor is actively holding back against the top ranker. Grave steps on the flat of her blade, pinning it to the floor. He taunts her, asking if that is all the strength she has. Ronya smirks, enjoying the one-sided beatdown. Silber worries Selene is going to fail the evaluation. Selene ignores the taunt, channeling a massive burst of blue mana. She declares she is bringing her full force. Grave watches her power up, unimpressed. He acknowledges her raw power is terrifying. He executes a clean parry, noting that raw power means nothing without control. Selene catches herself before she falls. She lunges again, throwing her entire body weight behind the swing. Grave tracks the incoming strike with minimal effort. He taps the side of her blade, throwing her aim off by a critical inch. Selene crashes onto the stone, defeated by simple physics. She looks up, realizing her momentum was turned against her. She scrambles up and charges a third time. Grave sighs. She refuses to adapt. She repeats the exact same predictable attack pattern. Grave sidesteps, burying the tip of his sword into the ground. He triggers a localized burst of mana, shattering the courtyard beneath her feet. He criticizes her shallow, repetitive tricks. He moves behind her before the dust even clears. A final wave of force pushes Selene to her knees. Silber, Chloe, and Xian watch in stunned silence. The dust begins to settle over the arena. Grave stands behind the kneeling girl, his blade resting casually against her neck. He declares the spar officially over. The courtyard falls dead silent. A student breaks the tension, praising the incredible display of skill. The crowd assumes Grave will reward her raw potential with a high score. Grave lowers his sword and announces the final grade. He gives her 1 point. The crowd gasps, unable to process the abysmal ranking. Selene blinks, her brain short-circuiting. The students murmur, wondering if they heard him correctly. The realization hits. The top prospect just failed spectacularly. Ronya loses her mind. She refuses to accept that her self-proclaimed rival scored a 1. She believed the test was meant to evaluate raw potential. She demands to know why the standard is so ridiculously high, only for Selene. She stomps past the boundary line. The pink-haired mage marches straight into the center ring. She screams at the instructor, demanding a full explanation. Chloe covers her mouth, shocked by Ronya's blatant disrespect for authority. Grave rubs his temples. He hates dealing with noble brats. He reminds her he is the designated examiner, and his ruling is absolute. Ronya points an accusatory finger, calling him out for grading the yellow-haired noble perfectly. She accuses him of taking bribes to keep the commoners ranked low. The crowd whispers, the tension spiking instantly. Grave glares down at her, his patience evaporating. He swallows his annoyance, deciding to kill the rumor before it spreads. Title skip. Grave addresses the courtyard, explaining his rationale. He stands with his arms crossed, commanding absolute authority. He admits that Selene's physical abilities are genuinely terrifying. He acknowledges her raw strength and agrees she has immense room for growth, but he lists her fatal flaws. She relies entirely on brute force and predictable swings. She has absolutely zero mastery of fundamental swordsmanship. Worse, she has no idea how to regulate her newly awakened mana core. In a real battle, lack of control is a liability that gets people killed. Ronya refuses to accept the logic. She screams that the standards are biased. She clenches her fists, vibrating with pure anger. Grave summons the massive, terrifying projection of a white tiger. The aura suffocates the courtyard, silencing the complaints instantly. He glares at the trembling mage. He tells her if she hates his grading so much, she should become an examiner herself. Ronya turns her anger on Selene, demanding she say something to defend her pride. Selene looks up from the dirt. Ronya waits for the counter-argument. Selene flashes a massive, genuine smile and thanks the instructor. She assumes he gave her a low score on purpose to teach her a lesson. She promises to train harder and master her technique, taking the brutal critique perfectly in stride. Grave stares at her, completely baffled. He was trying to get her expelled to save his own life. The other instructors nod, praising Grave for his deep, tough love mentoring style. Grave realizes his plan backfired spectacularly. Selene stands tall, practically glowing with newfound motivation. Ronya loses her mind, furious that her rival accepted the humiliation. Selene points out that a low rank won't stop her from becoming a warrior anyway. She laughs, completely unbothered by the administrative failure. Ronya grabs her own hair, screaming in frustration at the sheer stupidity. The pink-haired mage declares she is done with Selene and storms off. Selene smiles, Chloe chuckles, finding the one-sided rivalry absolutely adorable. Grave watches the girl he was supposed to break. She is completely unbreakable. Later that night, crimson light bleeds through the windows of the Demon King's castle. Xion sits in his private study. He activates a glowing purple communication orb. He asks his undercover agent for a progress report. Grave reports from the Academy library, his face illuminated by the magical sphere. He proudly announces he gave Selene the lowest possible score to discourage her. The Demon King shatters the orb in a fit of rage. His precious daughter failed. Grave panics, reminding Xion that this was literally his specific instruction. Xion coughs, changing the subject to the terrorist attack to hide his embarrassment. The dark castle looms over the wasteland. Xion summons a new orb, demanding the casualty report. Luke kneels on the red carpet, waiting for orders. The Demon King's aura flares violently, filling the room with crushing pressure. He orders his forces to hunt down the Dark Order immediately. Nobody traumatizes his little girl and lives to talk about it. The next morning, the dormitory assignments are officially posted on the Academy board. Grave addresses the freshmen, telling them to find their rooms and rest before training begins. The exhausted students crowd the bulletin board, desperate for a bed. Silber happily hopes the four of them get placed near each other. Selene agrees enthusiastically. She wants to spend every waking minute with her new best friends. Silber spots his name on the list and his smile vanishes. He stares at the paper in absolute horror. Chloe checks her assignment. She is paired with Sean in room 206. Perfect roommate synergy. Silber sinks into despair. Selene scans the list for her own name. She traces her finger down the chaotic scrawl. She finds her assignment, room 207. She turns back, thrilled that they are all on the same floor. She begs to share a room with Silber, but she reads the second name next to hers. She recoils in horror, realizing she is stuck with the screaming pink-haired mage. She double-checks the paper, hoping it is a typo. Silber cries silent tears over his own tragic fate. Ronya storms over, radiating pure hostility. She glares at Selene, disgusted by the administrative error. Selene looks around, trying to figure out who was yelling. Ronya demands a room transfer immediately. She refuses to sleep in the same same room as a low-ranked commoner. Selene crosses her arms, completely unfazed by the tantrum. Ronya points a demanding finger right at her face. Selene smirks. She tells the mage to get over it. They are roommates now. Ronya loses her mind, screaming that they are mortal enemies, not friends. Selene leans in closer, enjoying the reaction. She teases Ronya, calling the rivalry completely one-sided. A tall student walks up behind the screaming match. The muscular guy wears a red bandana. His name is Roman. Ronya turns her anger on him, telling him to back off. Roman looks down at Silber, confirming they are assigned to the same room. Silber nods nervously. He awkwardly shakes the massive guy's hand. Ronya's brain short-circuits. She screams at Roman, demanding to know why a guy is sharing a room with a girl. She pulls Silber away from the perceived threat. Chloe steps in, furious at the Academy's blatant lack of oversight. Silber waves his hands frantically, trying to stop the impending riot. He screams for everyone to calm down. Chloe crosses her arms, ready to file a formal complaint to the Holy See. Ronya jumps on Roman's back, demanding justice. Silber drops his head in pure embarrassment. He drops the bombshell right in the middle of the courtyard. He is a boy. Chloe stares at him. She thought he was just a very timid, flat-chested girl. The entire group freezes. Silber blushes, surrounded by a floral aura of pure awkwardness. Everyone's brain short-circuits simultaneously. The cute spiritist is officially a dude. Grave watches the chaos from the sidelines. Title skip. The girls settle into their massive dormitory building. Up in room 207, Selene flops onto her pristine new bed, completely ignoring her luggage. Ronya yells at her to unpack her giant sword before ruining the sheets. Selene yawns, promising to do it later. Ronya smacks her on the head, demanding order in their shared space. She absolutely hates the nickname Roni and demands Selene stop using it. Selene refuses. They are roommates, which means they are automatically best friends. Selene happily unpacks her gear, singing a little song while Ronya fumes in the background. Next door, in room 205, Silber tentatively pushes the door open. He walks in, dragging a suitcase the size of a small car. He is momentarily blinded by a divine light. It turns out it is just the sun reflecting off Roman's perfectly polished bald head. Roman turns around from his unpacking. He greets his new roommate warmly. He notices the massive pile of luggage. Silber blushes, admitting his mother packed a lot of survival gear for him. Roman turns his back, stating that Silber must have a very caring mother. Silber's smile falters for a second. Roman smiles, keeping the atmosphere light. Silber nods, appreciating the warm welcome. Roman looks at the timid boy as he drops a piece of wrapped candy into Silber's palm as a peace offering. Roman apologizes for the chaotic introduction downstairs and promises to be a good roommate. Silber smiles, the tension leaving his shoulders. Roman suggests they become good friends. Silber agrees enthusiastically. Roman leans in, smoothly changing the subject. He warns Silber to tell Selene to watch her back around Ronya. The pink-haired mage has a genuinely devilish temper. Later that night, the academy grounds are quiet, but someone is still training. Sean swings her dagger through the dark, her red eyes locked on an invisible enemy. She stops, sensing a presence nearby. Chloe steps out of the shadows, watching the white-haired elf push herself to the breaking point. She smiles softly. The massive academy building looms behind them. Chloe stretches, commenting on the crisp night air. She drops the small talk and asks Sean why she is overworking her unhealed shoulder. Sean glares into the darkness, refusing to answer. Chloe leans against her hand. She knows exactly who Shan is hunting. She mentions a name, the Slayer of Madness. A flashback reveals a terrifying woman in a red gothic dress, laughing manically while standing over a pile of corpses. The woman slaughtered the entire Halen forest without a shred of mercy. Chloe knows Shan is the sole survivor of the massacre. Shan looks away, the memory burning in her mind. She grips her dagger tightly. She vows to hunt the red-haired woman down and end her life. She considers revenge her only path to atonement for surviving when her family died. She stares at the steel blade, burdened by survivor's guilt. Chloe looks up at the sky. She wonders why the goddess Irene gives her followers such cruel, unnecessary trials. Deep in the underworld, the heavy wooden doors of the Dark Order's base remain shut. The masked leaders sit around a circular table, lit only by flickering candles. The red-haired woman, Bathory, smirks. Harkcus completed his mission to plant the mana stones before he died. A scarred cultist slams his fist on the table, demanding respect for his fallen comrade. A man wearing a white mask silences the room, bringing the meeting back to order. Bathory chuckles at the tension. The scarred man reports that the rest of their infiltration team was captured alive by the academy. The masked leader acknowledges the failure. The scarred man volunteers to step up and handle the cleanup operation himself. The leader sips his tea. He calmly states that a cleanup won't be necessary. Deep in the underworld, the leaders of the Dark Order gather around a heavy stone table. The raid on the academy resulted in massive casualties, leaving their foot soldiers dead or captured. The man in the white mask traces a glowing red magic circle onto the tabletop. Luan ignores the heavy losses entirely because the mission served its true purpose. A pink-haired girl named Leah lifts a heavy dumbbell, treating the villain summit like a casual gym session. She pauses her workout to complain about the gloomy atmosphere and the lack of proper lighting. The rest of the table sits in total silence, waiting for their leader's response. response. Luan obliges the request with a simple, echoing snap of his fingers. Localized mana sparks from the leather of his heavy glove. The grand chandelier blazes to life, all illuminating the highest-ranking terrorists on the continent. Luan clears his throat to command the room's attention. He delivers the actual good news. Harkcus, shedding his humanity inside the virtual dungeon, achieved their objective. The scarred mage confirms the ambient demonic energy weakened the Academy's divine barrier. In the shadows, a small red rat listens to every single word. The Demon King's familiar runs top-tier espionage. The mage praises the tactical sacrifice, knowing the Academy instructors are completely blind to their true scheme. Luan leans forward. He declares this the golden opportunity to strike real fear into the kingdom. He locks eyes with a specific man across the table, assigning him the vanguard role. A massive, unhinged smile spreads across a stitched face. Reaper stands up. Yahi lives for the slaughter and promises to rip their targets to pieces. Bathory rests her chin on her hand, utterly unimpressed by the raw bloodlust. She reminds the maniac not to get carried away. The goal is to buy time for an infiltration, not commit genocide. Paraben's skull-top staff glows with dark green energy. The goblin mage requires a distraction to secure a high-value sacrifice. The title card identifies him as one of the 5 great keymen. Luan clasps his hands together. The plan is set in stone. He reminds them that the Demon King's resurrection has only just begun. With the strategy finalized, Luan decides to wrap up the meeting. He places a hand over his heart in a gesture of pure fanaticism. He dedicates their upcoming massacre to the glorious return of their dark god. Leah ties her pink and yellow hair back into a tight knot. She leans over the table, breaking the religious tension instantly. She admits she wasn't paying attention and asks them to repeat the entire plan. The rest of the table sits in stunned, frustrated silence. Title card for the Manhwa. Weeks pass. The Hero Academy stands pristine under the morning sun. A tailored suit steps into the frame, perfectly pressed and clean. The 14th incoming class gathers in the grand courtyard for the opening ceremony. The principal taps the microphone to test the audio feedback. He delivers a soaring speech about duty, honor, and the courage required to save the world. The students eat it up. Tears stream down their faces as they envision their heroic futures. The grand spires of the academy cast long shadows over the grounds. Instructor Graves steps up to the balcony, shattering their bright-eyed optimism. Celine pumps her fists, vibrating with sheer excitement for the actual combat training. The grueling boot camp begins. Heavy sneakers pound against the dirt track. Instructors scream from the sidelines, demanding the cadets push past their physical limits. The students gasp for air, their faces turning blue from oxygen deprivation. Selene does not run. She drags a boulder the size of a small house behind her, using thick ropes. Day 5. The rest of the class collapses into a pile of bruised limbs. Selene stands in the center, demanding more. Day 14. Theory class. Selene snoozes on her desk, while Grave lectures about magic history. A student channels raw green mana into an iron gauntlet. The cadets practice funneling localized energy into their specialized weapons. Selene places her wrapped greatsword on the desk, furrowing her brow in intense concentration. She tries to channel her energy without causing a localized natural disaster. Her eyes light up as the massive slab of iron begins to hum. Her new friends cheer her on, amazed she managed the delicate magic control. Day 35. Ronya praises her rival's newfound magical precision. The training shifts to the artificial dungeon environments. Day 49. Selene swings her weapon like a baseball bat, launching a massive beast across the arena. The monster screeches as it crashes into the stone wall. Day 53. The evaluation period ends. Grave hands out the final grade reports. Selene stares at her paper. She scored a perfect 72 out of 72 points in physical conditioning. Grave stares at his own copy. He looks like a man walking to his execution. The final day of the term brings them back to the outdoor track. Selene finishes her laps, completely oblivious to her instructor's internal crisis. She turns her head, hearing her name called. Grave approaches her on the dirt, swallowing his professional pride. He asks her for one specific favor. He begs her to tell her father not to attend the upcoming completion ceremony. Cold sweat drips down his scarred face. He stammers, terrified of looking the Demon King in the eye. After giving his daughter a 1 in sparring, he waves his hand and dismisses the request. He knows he cannot escape his fate. In the human realm, a man ties a polished black leather shoe. Darcy adjusts the crisp collar of his dark cravat. Luke opens the heavy wooden door to check on his master's progress. Cheyenne strikes a pose in the mirror. The Demon King refuses to miss his daughter's first major academic milestone. He smiles, radiating undeniable fatherly pride. Leah sprints through the forest, carrying Paraben on her back toward their infiltration point. The day of the ceremony arrives. The academy is decorated in full regalia. Selene stands on her tiptoes, scanning the massive crowd of visiting parents. Labic glares at the blue-haired commoner standing near him. Grave takes the podium, representing the headmaster. He looks 10 years older than he did yesterday. Selene beams, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. The instructors begin calling names for the final awards. A father cheers wildly from the crowd as his son steps forward. Cheyenne bites his handkerchief, sobbing literal rivers of joy over his little girl's success. The grand chandelier casts a warm glow over the assembly. Velvet pillows hold the physical proof of their survival, the official warrior badges. Grave explains that parents are allowed to personally pin the medals on their children's chests. Title card for the Manhwa. The courtyard fills with proud families and tearful hugs. The cadets mingle with their aristocratic sponsors and parents. A high-ranking noble pins a platinum badge onto Lebek's pristine uniform. He mentions that the Duke was far too busy managing his territory to attend the graduation. Lebek's jaw tightens. The rejection stings. He turns away, masking his disappointment behind a wall of pure arrogance. A solid gold medal reflects the afternoon sun. Ronya gets her badge pinned on by her dedicated family maids. The maids smother the pink-haired genius with overwhelming affection. Ronya groans, demanding they stop treating her like a toddler in front of her classmates. A heavy hand pins a red ribbon onto Roman's chest. Roman gives his father a bright, respectful smile. Ronya storms over and yells at the massive brawler to stop looking so happy. She glares daggers at him, her competitive spirit burning bright. Sean clutches her silver badge, looking down at the polished metal. A gentle hand touches her shoulder. A matching silver medal dangles from the newcomer's fingers. Shan looks up, her red eyes softening. Chloe flashes a warm smile, suggesting they pin the badges on each other. Shan nods. The quiet elf appreciates the genuine camaraderie. They exchange medals, solidifying their bond forged in the dungeons. The crowd murmurs as another high-profile family arrives. Silber stares at his silver badge. It feels heavier than it should. His mother, Duchess Jin, steps out of the crowd, looking at the medal with pure disgust. Silber lowers his head, accepting the verbal abuse without a fight. Nearby, Cheyenne stands behind Selene, fixing the collar of her uniform. He pins the heavy bronze medal onto her chest, beaming with pride. He doesn't care about the low rank. He tells her the color matches her eyes perfectly. He admits the bronze aesthetic is superior to the flashy gold anyway. Heavy boots click against the stone balcony. Grave commands the attention of the courtyard one last time. Selene inhales a massive breath of air. The crowd falls silent, waiting for the traditional declarations. Selene screams at the top of her lungs, all declaring her lifelong mission to execute the Demon King. Cheyenne coughs up blood, taking massive psychic damage from the public threat. Grave ends the ceremony, fleeing the podium before the Demon King decides to incinerate him. The Academy opens the heavy doors to the main banquet hall. Tables groan under the weight of towering cakes, roasted meats, and expensive pastries. Selena's eyes turn into literal stars at the sight of the buffet. A silver tray holds delicate fruit tarts and chocolate truffles. She drools like a rabid dog, ready to demolish the entire table. Count Bland, a famous retired hero, approaches the snack table with his wife. He glances at the tall man standing next to the bronze-ranked girl. He recognizes the face. He fought alongside a hero who looks exactly like him. Cheyenne starts sweating profusely. The cover story is crumbling in real time. He freezes in place, his brain racing to formulate a backup plan. He debates erasing the Count's memory to protect his suburban dad persona. Selene looks up, confused. She remembers her dad admitting he used to be an apostle of justice. She walks out of the main hall, demanding answers. Cheyenne grabs her shoulders, desperate to keep the lie intact. He shushes her, looking around for eavesdroppers. He drops to one knee, looking his daughter right in the eye. Selene blinks, asking why he won't take credit for his heroic deeds. He spins a massive lie, claiming his hero identity is a classified state secret. He shakes her gently, begging her never to tell anyone his real name or mention his past. Selene nods, promising to keep his secret safe from the corrupt government. Where they return to the banquet hall. The aristocratic families mingle in small clusters. A massive cut of roasted meat sits untouched on a silver platter. Selene solves that problem. She loads her plate with enough protein to feed a small village. She shoves the meat into her mouth, her cheeks bulging like a chipmunk. Cheyenne smiles, happy to see her enjoying the luxurious food. High heels click against the marble floor. Duchess Jin spots the duo and glares at them from across the room. She asks Silber if the girl shoving turkey legs down her throat is his new best friend. Silber stammers, terrified of his mother's impending wrath. The Duchess scoffs. She commands her son to sever ties with the uneducated commoner immediately. Cheyenne hears the insult from 30 feet away. His jaw tightens. The Duchess narrows her eyes, irradiating pure classist venom. She stares at the cheap bronze medal hanging from Selena's uniform. She calls the little girl classless and talentless out loud. She hides her sneer behind her blue lace fan. Silber panics, knowing his mother is crossing a dangerous line. Cheyenne clenches his fist. A dark, terrifying aura threatens to bleed out of his tailored suit. The Duchess turns her fury back onto her son, calling him a massive disappointment. Silber drops his chin, the words crushing his spirit. Cheyenne debates turning the snooty noblewoman into a fine red mist right here in the banquet hall. Lebek swaggers into the conversation, spotting an opportunity to cause more pain. He flashes his signature arrogant smirk. The Duchess acts surprised to see the blonde heir mingling with the lower ranks. Cheyenne watches the new arrival, recognizing the kid Selene kicked in the face on day one. Selene continues chewing, blissfully unaware of the high society drama unfolding behind her. Lebek bows to the Duchess, playing the perfect aristocratic gentleman. She greets him warmly, a stark contrast to how she treats her own blood. hand. Lebec smiles, his red eyes locking onto his real target. He delivers a backhanded compliment, claiming he expected the Duchess to be standing beside the Duke. Silber flinches, gripping his uniform jacket. Lebec calls it a miracle the Duke let his illegitimate son attend the academy at all. Silber stares at the floor, the words cutting deeper than a physical blade. The Duchess plays along, claiming they had no choice but to humor the boy's foolish hero dreams. Lebec twists the knife, refusing to let the boy breathe. Cheyenne's eyes shift toward the conversation. The temperature in the room drops 5 degrees. The Duchess laughs behind her fan, enjoying the psychological torture. Silber sweats, his hands trembling at his sides. Lebec mockingly congratulates him on scraping by during the exams purely on luck. He tightens his grip on his own immaculate sleeve. The blonde noble bathes in the spotlight of his own perceived superiority. Celine finally stops eating. The word luck catches her attention. The Duchess glares at the commoner, annoyed by the interruption. She decides the conversation has run its course and prepares to leave. Lebec bows again, satisfied with the damage he inflicted. The Duchess turns her back, offering a hollow thank you. She walks away, leaving her son to deal with the fallout alone. She snaps her fan shut, ordering Silber to follow her like a dog. Silber agrees in a broken whisper, though he bows respectfully to his tormentor before turning to leave. Celine grips her skewer tightly, processing the blatant disrespect. Cheyenne watches his daughter, recognizing the specific spark of fury in her eyes. Lebec stares down at the retreating spiritist, disgusted by his weakness. Cheyenne smirks. He decides he likes the blonde kid's sheer audacity. He considers recruiting him for the demon army once the academy falls. Celine stomps right up to Lebec, pointing an accusatory finger in his face. Cheyenne freezes, stunned by his daughter's sudden aggression. Lebec blinks, confused by the commoner's suicidal bravery. Title card for the Manhwa. Celine screams at him, demanding he take his words back. She refuses to let him insult Silber's sheer dedication. The grand hall goes quiet. The surrounding nobles stare at the screaming match. In Celine glares, her unshakable moral compass demanding immediate justice. Lebec steps into her space. He tells the lowly bronze ranker to know her place and shut her mouth. Cheyenne cracks his knuckles. The diplomatic approach is officially off the table. A massive marble vase frames the escalating conflict. Grave takes a sip of his drink, trying to ignore the impending disaster. Cheyenne's demonic aura flares behind him, manifesting as a massive, fanged wolf ready to devour the arrogant brat. Grave averts his eyes. He refuses to get involved when the Demon King slaughters a noble. The academy exterior stands quiet against the dark forest. Parents and students walk down the cobblestone paths, enjoying the cool night air. Cheyenne storms out of the banquet hall, vibrating with suppressed rage. He promises himself he will rip every blonde hair off that kid's head at a later date. A heavy beast paw steps onto the stone. Lycan guards stand at the gates, thanking the parents for attending. A civilian asks if the town lodging is truly free. The guard smiles, wishing them a safe journey down the mountain. Cheyenne complains to himself, annoyed that the academy forced the parents to seek lodging outside the main campus. He plans to use a teleportation portal to find a quiet tavern for the night. He stops mid-stride, his red eyes sharpen. He senses a massive localized pulse of energy bleeding through the academy walls. He recognizes the signature immediately. Demonic energy, but incredibly weak. He connects the dots to the Dark Order emblem. He smirks. He decides to follow the trail and play along with whatever foolish cult is operating in his territory. Silhouettes dance across the grand windows of the banquet hall. At the front gates, 2 academy guards stand watch. They grip their spears, hearing a maniacal giggling echoing from the shadows. The guard raises his weapon, screaming a warning to the courtyard. Reaper steps into the moonlight, his scarred face twisted into a massive grin. He swings his scythe before the guard can react, slicing a fatal arc across his neck. The guard's eyes roll back as the cursed blade severs his spine. A dozen heavily armed guards rush the gates, shields raised against the intruder. The captain yells, declaring the murder a direct act of war against the city. Reaper moves with unnatural speed, closing the distance in a blur of gray motion. The captain freezes, paralyzed by the sheer suffocating killing intent. Reaper stands over the corpse, disappointed the vanguard fell so quickly. Ghouls crawl out of a shattered hole in the cobblestone, invading the academy grounds. The scene shifts to the civilian lodging in town. A couple enjoys a quiet dinner. Reaper looks over his shoulder, commanding his undead army to secure the hostages. The rat perches on his scarf, asking if the escape mission is proceeding on schedule. A ghoul slithers out of the water basin, confirming the objective is complete. The ghouls utilized a massive network of underground tunnels to bypass the exterior defenses completely. The rat notes that Paraben's earth magic is the only reason Reaper survived the infiltration. The ghoul stares up with glowing yellow eyes, waiting for the next kill order. Old Reaper stands amidst his rotting army, commanding them to secure the area. The next morning, sunlight streams over the pristine academy gardens. The freshmen gather in the grand lecture hall. Celine pumps her fist, buzzing with energy for her first official day as a verified cadet. She asks her friends if they are ready for the advanced curriculum. She crosses her arms, convinced their entire mindset has shifted after graduation. Ronya yells at her from the back row, reminding her she literally slept through the entire entire theory course. The pink-haired genius rests her chin on her hand, deeply annoyed by her rival's existence. She scoffs at Selene's excuse that an hour of concentration is her maximum physical limit. She screams at the top of her lungs, demanding Selene stop calling her Roni. Chloe checks the empty podium. Instructor Grave is officially late. The massive clock on the wall ticks past the starting bell. Selene assumes the morning staff meeting simply ran long because of the post-graduation hangover. The heavy wooden doors slam open. The girls look up, expecting a standard lecture. Grave walks in. His face is pale, and the permanent scowl is gone, replaced by genuine gravity. He steps up to the desk without his clipboard or practice sword. He looks down, struggling to find the words. Ronya drops her hostility, realizing something is catastrophically wrong. Selene jokes that he probably just ate a bad breakfast. Grave places his hands on the desk. He delivers the devastating news. The students gasp, the air leaving the room instantly. Panic ripples through the lecture hall as whispers of another terrorist attack spread. Grave speaks clearly. The majority of the parents who attended the banquet last night, the scene cuts to a dark, opulent room, sealed with heavy iron chains, have been kidnapped by an unidentified terrorist group. Selene's eyes widen in absolute horror. Her father was at that banquet. Title card for the Manhwa. The cold marble floor of the dungeon. Heavy steel cuffs lock around a pair of trembling wrists. Duchess Jin struggles against her bindings, her aristocratic composure completely shattered. The other nobles call out to her in a blind panic. Count Blonde asks his wife if she is injured. He admits he went to sleep in his town lodging and woke up chained to the dungeon floor. A bald commoner stands up, refusing to wait for a rescue team. He sprints for the massive iron door, desperate to find an exit before the kidnappers return. He slides to a halt in front of the massive barricade. He gasps, realizing the heavy deadbolts cannot be broken by bare hands. Cheyenne sits quietly in the center of the room, blending in perfectly with the terrified humans. Duchess Jin stares at him, her eyes wide with recognition. Cheyenne analyzes the massive magic circle painted across the ceiling. He realizes whoever orchestrated this kidnapping used a high-tier teleportation spell. He finds the residual demonic energy insulting. Whoever cast it was a rank amateur. The Duchess yells at him, identifying him as the father of the classless brat who latched onto her son. Cheyenne glances over his shoulder. He corrects her. Silber is the parasite, not Selene. The Duchess screams at his sheer audacity to insult a noble while they are held hostage. Cheyenne leans back on his hands, utterly unfazed by her screeching. A heavy boot kicks the iron door open. Reaper strides into the room, flanked by a horde of crawling ghouls. A scythe swings in a lethal arc before the bald man can even turn around. The massive blade splits his chest open. He hits the marble floor in a spray of blood. The commoner's eyes roll back as his life fades. A ghoul slithers up to Reaper's boots, reporting the perimeter is secure. The hostages stare at the corpse, paralyzed by pure, unadulterated terror. Reaper smiles behind his red scarf. He tells his undead soldiers they did a wonderful job. The ghoul stares up with glowing yellow eyes, begging for a taste of fresh blood. Reaper kicks the corpse, tossing a severed limb to the starving monster. He tells his subordinates they handle the cleanup operations neatly. Cheyenne watches the mass murderer from his spot on the floor. He confirms the man with the scythe is the leader of the infiltration squad. He watches the rat familiar crawl up Reaper's back. The rat sits on the terrorist's shoulder, claiming it is the only reason the mission succeeded. A flashback shows Bathory warning Reaper not to ruin the plan. Whilst the rat reminds him that his sluggish ghouls would have been slaughtered at the gates without Paraben's earth magic. It points a tiny claw, emphasizing the massive debt Reaper owes the organization. Reaper glares at the rodent, tired of being treated like a disposable pawn. He argues that Paraben was the one who screwed up the teleportation coordinates. He points to the dead body, claiming a flawless portal wouldn't require messy cleanup. The rat smacks him on the head. If the portal was flawed, he would have materialized inside a brick wall. Reaper grabs the familiar, squeezing the localized demonic energy in his fist. Cheyenne sits cross-legged, watching his rat deliver a stern lecture to a mass murderer. Reaper tells Bathory's familiar he can call in the debt whenever he wants. The rat's red eyes glow. It warns him not to test the limits of his usefulness. Reaper's eyes widen. He knows exactly what happens to failures in the Dark Order. The rat brings up the Halen Forest incident, a colossal failure that required Bathory's personal intervention to fix. Reaper flinches, the memory of his near execution fresh in his mind. The rat screams that the debt will not be forgiven just because 10 years have passed. Reaper mutters under his breath, adjusting his grip on his weapon. He vows to repay the debt by securing the sacrifices they need to complete their dark dream. Cheyenne's eyes sharpen. The word dreams catches his attention. Reaper turns his attention back to the trembling hostages. He laughs maniacally. The thrill of the impending slaughter washes the fear away. The rat glares at him, sensing his unstable bloodlust. Inace jumps off his shoulder, ordering him not to cause any unnecessary problems. It warns him, fail this time, and the leadership will execute him themselves. Reaper turns his back on the familiar, ignoring the threat entirely. He laughs, claiming he never needs second chances. The first strike is always fatal. Cheyenne stares at the madman. The game is becoming tiresome. The heavy iron handcuffs shatter like spun glass. Cheyenne breaks the bindings with zero physical effort effort. He looks up, demanding Reaper's full attention. Reaper holds a pair of empty cuffs, confused by the sudden noise. He tosses the metal aside and orders the ghouls to untie every single hostage in the room. The undead soldiers move to obey, grabbing the chains. The cuffs fall to the floor with a heavy clatter. Duchess Jin rubs her bruised wrists. Reaper leans in close to Shion. He explains his new game. He wants them to try and escape. A father shields his child, weeping openly on the marble tiles. Reaper thrives on the despair. The sound of their begging fuels his magic. He points to the open door and screams for the terrified parents to run. A twisted game of hide and seek where the penalty for getting caught is an immediate, all-violent death. Shion stands up. He repeats the words slowly. Hide and seek. He smiles. The Demon King loves games. He steps right in front of the mass murderer. He blocks Reaper's path to the other hostages entirely. Reaper looks down, confused by the suited man's complete lack of survival instinct. Shion asks him if he really expects him to run away like a frightened rabbit. Title card. Reaper glares, demanding to know what the arrogant human is doing. Shion throws the question back. He asks why the terrorist isn't the one running away. Reaper's brain short-circuits. He cannot process the sheer audacity of the threat. He laughs, assuming the suited man has completely lost his mind from fear. Shion's smile vanishes. The diplomatic approach is over. Reaper points the dripping scythe at his chest. Bowing, he reminds the human he is supposed to be hiding. Shion tells him to shut up and piss off. The rat scrambles out of the room, sensing the catastrophic shift in the atmosphere. It looks back, terrified of the suffocating aura bleeding off the man in the suit. Dark purple magic crackles around Shion's pristine jacket. The rat's eyes widen. It knows exactly who is standing in that room. Shion's lip curls into a sadistic snarl. He changes the rules. Reaper declares himself the seeker, refusing to yield control of the slaughter. Shion corrects him. Reaper is the prey. The terrorist loses his patience. He tightens his grip on the cursed weapon. He swings the scythe down in a lethal arc, aiming to decapitate the arrogant noble. His eyes bulge as the blade meets impossible resistance. The rat flees down the corridor to escape the blast radius. Shion doesn't even flinch. He speaks a single word of absolute command. Sleep. A massive wave of dark magic detonates outward. Every single hostage drops to the floor, instantly unconscious. The pulse knocks the rat off its feet. Shion ensures no humans are awake to witness what happens next. Reaper staggers backward, his scythe hanging uselessly at his side. He looks around the room, completely baffled by the sudden mass slumber. Shion cracks his knuckles, the purple mana dancing across his skin. He promises to extract every single piece of information from the terrorist's mind. Reaper screams, demanding to know what the human did to his sacrifices. He orders the ghouls to swarm the target and rip him to shreds. The undead soldiers rush forward, rusted weapons raised. Shion glares at the leading monster. The creature freezes under the sheer weight of his gaze. He releases a localized burst of pure kinetic energy, throwing Reaper across the room. The terrorist hits the ground hard, his stolen magic flickering. His cursed scythe clatters against the shattered tiles. Shion recognizes the red energy radiating from the blade. The cult is using stolen demonic power. He steps forward, finding the crude imitation deeply insulting. He tells the maniac that borrowed power always comes with a lethal catch. Purple lightning arcs across the ceiling, suffocating the room in true darkness. Shion raises his hand. He prepares to teach the necromancer a lesson about the hierarchy of power. The ghouls charge blindly into the kill zone, entirely unaware of the predator in front of them. Shion tells them to shut up. A shockwave of pure, yet unadulterated demonic force floods the room. The lead ghoul freezes mid-stride. Its stolen command structure shatters instantly. The monster looks at its sword. It cannot force its own arms to swing the blade. Shion smirks. The ghouls belong to him now. Reaper yells at his soldiers to move, confused by the sudden mass insubordination. The undead horde turns their glowing eyes away from Shion and lock onto their former master. Reaper's jaw drops. His necromancy has been overridden. Shion points out the obvious. Borrowed demonic energy always bows to a stronger source. He flashes a genuine, terrifying smile. He loves watching arrogance crumble. Reaper trembles, realizing the suited man is entirely out of his league. He swings his scythe defensively, cutting through the air to keep the ghouls back. He blocks a rusted sword strike. Genuinely shocked his own creations are attacking him. Shion doesn't even counterattack. He simply orders the ghouls to kill each other. He tells the terrorist his desperate struggling is getting annoying. The undead horde swarms Reaper from all sides, dogpiling the necromancer. A ghoul drives a sword down, forcing Reaper to block the heavy strike with the shaft of his scythe. The monster apologizes, claiming its body is moving completely on its own. Another ghoul stabs him in the shoulder. Blood splatters across the pristine marble. Shion watches the massacre with a cold, sadistic grin. He finds the betrayal incredibly entertaining. Reaper's eyes bulge as the sheer number of attackers overwhelms his guard. He spins the heavy blade, cutting through the mob just to survive the onslaught. He pants heavily, and wondering if he miscalculated the human's magic tier. The ghouls drag him down, their rotting fingers tearing at his robes. Reaper bursts into unhinged laughter. The thrill of the slaughter overrides his panic. Shion crosses his arms. The madman man's reaction is genuinely amusing. Reaper declares he is perfectly fine with this outcome because he is excellent at killing. A massive ghoul lunges directly at his face. He catches the monster by the skull, stopping its momentum instantly. He crushes the skull in his bare hand, blood raining down on his boots. He spins the scythe in a massive circle, cutting down 3 ghouls at once. He slaughters his own army, prioritizing his survival over his mission. He slices a massive creature in half, leaving its torso on the floor. He screams at the top of his lungs, declaring that killing is the absolute best feeling in the world. A shockwave of red energy erupts from his weapon, clearing the immediate kill zone. As Xion watches the display, his red eyes tracking the terrorists' movements, he decides to join the game. He tells the clown to dance for him. Reaper points the dripping blade at Xion, changing his mind. He plans to kill the arrogant noble first. The remaining ghouls charge blindly into the scythe, throwing themselves at Reaper to fulfill their new master's command. Xion lowers his head. The terrorist is pathetic. A massive crescent of red energy obliterates the front line of the undead horde. Xion stands perfectly still. He hasn't taken a single step backward. Reaper laughs maniacally, drenched in the blood of his own soldiers. He stares at his red-stained palm, intoxicated by the violence. He tells the suited man that the feeling of cutting through flesh is the ultimate high. A half-dead ghoul crawls toward him, begging for mercy. It claims its weapon was being controlled against its will. Reaper slashes the begging creature without a shred of hesitation. He moves to the next target, calling the monster too ugly to let live. He butchers another ghoul purely because he dislikes its name. He points the blade at the remaining survivors. He promises to cut every single one of them down to the bone. He stands amidst the carnage, convinced he has leveled the playing field. Xion smirks. The man is genuinely crazier than he looks. Reaper points the weapon at his chest, demanding he drop the superior attitude. He laughs, claiming he always wanted an excuse to execute his own useless subordinates. He covers his face with his bloody hand, his sanity entirely gone. He kicks a severed torso out of his path. The fact that they were ever alive annoys him. Xion agrees. It is much better now that the trash has taken itself out. Reaper channels his remaining magic, furious at the continued disrespect. The marble floor is slick with black blood and shattered bone. The ghouls twitch in the massive puddles of gore. Reaper braces his weapon, waiting for the noble to drop his guard. He smirks, enjoying the brief silence before the final strike. Xion calls the massacre an enjoyable show, perfectly delivered by a piece of trash. The cursed scythe hums, desperate to taste the noble's blood. Reaper raises the blade, noting that they are the only 2 left standing in the room. Xion corrects him. Reaper is the only one left. The heavy steel shatters against an invisible wall of force before it even reaches Xion's suit. Reaper drops the weapon, realizing a straight physical confrontation is suicide. He believes Xion is a high-level human mage specializing in mind control. He assumes the noble cannot override an army that cannot die. Xion's grin widens. The terrorist has absolutely no idea what he is looking at. He waits patiently for the pathetic final trick. Reaper initiates the resurrection protocol, utilizing the massive pool of blood as a catalyst. A violent shockwave of red energy detonates across the dungeon floor. He mocks Xion, claiming mind control is useless against true necromancy. Xion wipes a drop of blood from his cheek. He hates studying, but he knows a basic spell when he sees one. A glowing red eye opens inside a massive cocoon of stitched flesh. Reaper drops to his knees, burying his hands in the gore to fuel the resurrection. He forces his dark mana into the shattered corpses, screaming from the physical toll. He tells the noble to stop spouting nonsense and prepare to die. The dead soldiers twitch, their bodies rapidly reassembling. Reaper struggles to stand, exhausted but victorious. Xion summons a concentrated orb of purple demonic energy in his palm. Reaper laughs, convinced his undead horde will wipe that arrogant smile off the noble's face. He throws his arms wide, welcoming his soldiers back to the land of the living. He commands the ghouls to arise and fulfill their original purpose. He casts a dark blessing over the reconstructed monsters. A massive ghoul pushes itself off the floor, its muscles bulging with unnatural strength. The horde reforms into a towering wave of rotting flesh, ready to crush the target. They reach for the ceiling, their hunger reset by the dark magic. Their eyes glow yellow, incompletely bound to the necromancer's will. The undead scream in triumph, thrilled to be walking the earth again. Xion watches the display. He is genuinely impressed by the sheer volume of the spell. The ghouls praise Reaper's blessing for keeping their minds intact through the resurrection. Xion admits that even his own top commanders lack that specific necromantic finesse. He tells the terrorist it is a fun skill, but ultimately useless. The ghouls charge blindly into the kill zone, weapons raised to execute their master's command. Xion releases the purple orb. A massive pillar of pure force erupts from his hand. The beam crashes down, instantly vaporizing the front line of the undead horde. Reaper's jaw drops. The sheer destructive power shatters his comprehension. Xion steps forward, with the stolen necromantic energy evaporating upon contact with true darkness. He demands the terrorist drop the act and surrender his memories before he dies. He reaches out with a telekinetic grip, locking onto the core of Reaper's magic. A glowing purple mana stone pulses violently inside the terrorist's chest, cracking under the the pressure, hellfire erupts, burning the stolen magic away to reveal the true, apocalyptic power of the Demon King. The Halen forest burns to ash. Bathory stands above the inferno, admiring the destruction. Reaper stands beside her, his cursed scythe dripping with fresh blood. She considers the massacre a worthwhile detour. Reaper asks if she located the target amidst the corpses. She orders the necromancer to shut his mouth. She crosses her arms. She refuses to fail her mission. Reaper mutters under his breath, unwilling to push her temper. The flames consume the ancient trees. The Dark Order's grand ambition relies on one specific catalyst. She watches the shadows, her red eyes unblinking. They need the children of Banwol, the pure-blood descendants of the ancient elven race. In the present, the bandaged goblin chokes on his own blood. Paraben stares at the suited man surrounded by dead ghouls. Cheyenne smiles a dark, knowing smile. He pieces the puzzle together instantly. Paraben freezes. The man in the suit knows exactly what the cult is hunting. Miles away, the academy stands quiet. Ronya sits in bed, tears streaming down her face. Silber pulls the blanket up, trying to comfort the devastated mage. Ronya screams. The terrorists have both sets of their parents. Silber forces a smile, pretending the situation is under control. He knows for a fact that Seleni's father is the literal Demon King. A memory flashes through his mind, the terrifying threat Cheyenne issued to ensure his absolute silence. Silber sweats, certain the Dark Lord will survive a simple kidnapping. He praises Cheyenne's digestion to change the subject, confusing Ronya. The heavy door swings open before he can explain his weird logic. Selene marches inside, her great sword already strapped to her back. She refuses to wait for the academy instructors to mobilize. Ronya demands to come along, unwilling to leave her family behind. Selene bluntly calls the fragile mage a burden. Ronya grabs her cloak, furious at the insult. She refuses to back down. The trio steps into the hallway and stops dead in their tracks. Chloe flashes a confident smile. Selene points at her friends, genuinely shocked they assembled. Ronya realizes the rest of the squad was waiting for them all along. Roman flexes his hand, securing his massive survival backpack. He confirms they are all going together. No one fights alone. Selene raises her fist to the ceiling. The unauthorized rescue mission begins now. She leads the charge down the stone corridor. The grand spires of the surviving academy buildings gleam in the sun. Inside the conference room, the adults are proving useless. Paladin Commander Ian rubs his beard. The kidnapper's silence makes no tactical sense. He notes they captured high-value targets, but issued zero demands. Graves slams his hands on the heavy oak table. He does not care about motives. He glares at the Paladin Commander, his patience evaporating. He demands they mobilize a strike team to secure the cadets' families. He refuses to sit around sipping tea while the situation deteriorates. Hero Representative Van Lionheart crosses his fingers, playing the stoic diplomat. He warns that a reckless assault might provoke the terrorists into executing everyone. Grave clenches his fists, disgusted by the political red tape. He calls Lionheart an obstinate fool. Lionheart laughs off the insult, addressing Grave by his old hero title. He stands firm. The association does not negotiate with terrorists under any circumstances. Grave stares at him, horrified by the cold calculation. Lionheart claims they cannot risk a wider crisis for a handful of prisoners. Grave looks between the two leaders. Neither of them plans to act. He mutters the words mere hostages under his breath, his anger spiking. Lionheart pulls rank, ordering the instructor to stand down. He repeats his refusal to negotiate. The heavy doors burst open. An elven scout rushes into the room. She leans in and whispers an urgent report directly into Grave's ear. Grave turns pale, his eyes wide. The blood drains from his scarred face. The scout confirms a group of cadets broke protocol to rescue their parents. Lionheart takes a calm sip of his tea, oblivious to the impending disaster. Grave grabs the scout by the shoulders, demanding names. He prays to every god listening that a specific girl stayed in her dorm. He begs the scout to tell him it isn't true. The scout lists the names: Ronya, Silber, Roman, Chloe, Shan. Grave drops his head, and Selene. The worst case scenario is happening. He knows if the Demon King's daughter gets a single scratch, they are all dead. Back in the dungeon, Cheyenne channels pure dark magic. Paraben accuses him of erasing the hostage's memories to hide his identity. The goblin chokes, pinned against the wall by invisible force. Cheyenne wipes his mouth. He plans to extract the location of the Banwol children straight from the terrorist's skull. Paraben curses the noble, swearing the Dark Order will hunt him down. Cheyenne looks down at him. He finds the threat boring. He floods the goblin's chest with lethal demonic energy. Paraben collapses, dead before he hits the marble tiles. Cheyenne brushes off his hands, treating the execution like a minor chore. He looks at the unconscious hostages scattered across the room. He debates using teleportation to leave, but knows the magical trace would raise questions. He walks through the silent hall, stepping over the slaughtered ghouls. His polished shoe lands squarely on the chest of a dead monster. He stops. He remembers the terrorists dug an escape route. Outside in the dense forest, the academy perimeter is silent. A yellow bird bursts into a cloud of smoke, revealing its true form. Cheyenne steps out of the hidden cave entrance, holding his rat familiar by the scruff. He praises the little guy for scouting the subterranean root, the rat morphs into a small, grotesque demon minion. Cheyenne smirks. He confirms he butchered the necromancer inside. The minion laughs a grating, evil laugh, thrilled by the bloodshed. Cheyenne glares at the creature, silencing it instantly. He orders the minion to return to the underworld before someone spots it. He looks up at the sky, calculating the distance back to the academy. He needs to play the role of a helpless victim before his daughter arrives. He imagines Selene running into his arms, crying tears of relief. The thought alone makes the Demon King blush like a proud father. A tracking spell shoots through the dense forest canopy. Boots rustle through the heavy brush as the rescue squad pushes forward. Selene leads the charge, her cape catching the wind. She praises Silber's tracking magic for bypassing the academy scouts. They break through the tree line and spot the mansion looming in the distance. Tents surround the perimeter. The enemy stronghold is heavily fortified. Selene wants to charge straight in, but Chloe holds her back. The Saintess warns that a frontal assault will trigger an immediate hostage execution. Roman shifts the heavy pack on his shoulders, sweating under the weight. He points to the front gate. The direct route is a guaranteed death trap. Silber apologizes. His spirit guides are acting erratic. Selena tilts her head, confused by the magic failure. The tiny green fairies tremble against a tree branch. Silber recognizes the reaction. They are terrified of a lingering demonic presence. The squad stares into the dark woods, the tension spiking instantly. Ronya screams at Selene for suggesting they take a snack break. She cannot believe her rival is thinking about food in enemy territory. Roman agrees with the vanguard. Fighting on an empty stomach is terrible strategy. Selena whines, her stomach growling louder than a monster. She collapses onto the dirt, out of energy. She presses her face to the ground. Her nose twitches. She picks up a distinct scent on the wind. She sits up and tells the squad it smells like her house. Ronya threatens to kick her if she mentions home-cooked meals again. Selene crawls through the brush, ignoring the threats. She parts the leaves and spots a hidden hole carved into the rocks. Roman wonders why a tunnel exists this far out from the main mansion. Selene sniffs the air again, getting closer to the entrance. She confirms the odor is familiar. She declares it smells like her bathroom. A flashback to Cheyenne standing outside the toilet, blaming his dark magic odor on a bad stomachache. Selene adjusts her glasses. She is certain this tunnel reeks of her dad's morning routine. The entire squad stares at her in profound, all collective confusion. Silber sweats, praying she is just hallucinating from hunger. He reminds her he is not a translator for her weird family dynamics. A massive burst of wind pulls the squad toward the tunnel entrance. The fairies dart nervously around the opening. Selene wrestles Ronya to the ground to keep her from screaming. She clamps her gloved hand over the mage's mouth. Sean signals for silence. She spots movement ahead. Silber breaks into a cold sweat, terrified of the impending ambush. They lie flat on the dirt, waiting for the enemy to pass. Silber notices the suffocating evil energy from earlier has vanished. He realizes a massive power struggle must have concluded nearby. Chloe grips her silver cross. She readies her divine magic. Her purple eyes narrow. She refuses to let her friends walk into a slaughter. The squad cautiously approaches the center of the clearing. Silber flinches, stepping back from the shadows. He points to a massive shape blocking the path. A gray-skinned corpse lies mangled on the dirt. The creature is motionless. Chloe covers her mouth, horrified by the twisted anatomy. She identifies the rotting creature as a ghoul. Silber stammers, terrified of the undead monster. Chloe explains that necromancers create them using fresh corpses. They lose all rationality and exist to consume human flesh. Selene tilts her head. She claims the monster reminds her of someone. She pokes the creature with her boot. She confirms it is dead. Silber warns her to step back, knowing undead can play possum. Sean kneels and inspects the fatal wound on the monster's chest. She states that ghouls possess high durability, but this one was obliterated instantly. She doesn't know who killed it, but they were efficient. Someone made sure this monster would never rise again. Chloe steps forward. She refuses to take chances with dark magic. She channels her holy power into her cross, declaring purification as her duty. She leaps high into the air, bringing the metal down with devastating kinetic force. She drives the cross straight through the ghoul's skull. The impact shatters the stone floor beneath them, cratering the area. She kneels peacefully and prays for its soul. Silber sweats, asking if the extreme violence was necessary. Chloe flashes a bright smile. She claims smashing the head guarantees an express ticket to heaven. The squad spots several more dead ghouls scattered near the cave mouth. Silber points into the dark tunnel, wondering where it leads. He assumes the ghouls dug the labyrinth themselves. Roman deduces the kidnappers used teleportation to enter the mansion originally. He adjusts his pack, piecing the tactical puzzle together. The terrorists knew the Heroes Association would surround the perimeter. Selene nods, calling the bad guys smart for having a backup plan. Ronya screams, losing her mind over the bathroom smell. Selene ignores the tantrum. She focuses on the tactical advantage. She notes that digging a tunnel requires serious coordination. Shan picks up a piece of torn black fabric from the dirt. The crimson crest is unmistakable. The Dark Order is behind this attack. Silber confirms Roman's theory. The tunnel must lead directly into the enemy stronghold. Roman crosses his arms. It's a massive risk, but also a massive opportunity. Selene grips her sword. This is their golden ticket inside the barricade. Silber hesitates. He suggests alerting the Heroes Association before walking into a trap. He argues the professionals need to know this route exists. Ronya agrees, terrified of facing a terrorist cell alone. Celine refuses to waste time. Their parents are sitting in the crossfire. She glares at the darkness, unwilling to wait for bureaucratic backup. Sean draws her dagger. She owes her life to eradicating the Dark Order. Celine smiles. The Vanguard has her assassin. She gives the rest of them one last chance to turn back. No one moves. Chloe adjusts her gloves. The Saintess candidate will not abandon her duty to the hostages. Silber grips his cloak, terrified but loyal. Ronya stares into the gaping cave entrance. She steps up, refusing to run away while her rival walks into danger. Roman sighs. He promises to protect the fragile mage. The squad locks in. They are infiltrating the mansion. Its grave sprints through the forest at breakneck speed, leaving a trail of dust. He curses the academy, the trees, and the dirt beneath his boots. He curses the Demon King's daughter for refusing to stay in her dorm. He pushes his legs to the limit, desperate to intercept her. He remembers the suffocating terror of Cheyon's dark aura. If the Demon King finds out he let Selene walk into a hostage situation, he is a dead man. His eyes bulge out of his skull. The stress is taking years off his life. He begs the universe for Selene to quit being a hero and go home. He imagines her hugging her dad, safe and sound. He checks the magical signature hidden inside her bronze cadet badge. The tracker points straight ahead. He closes the distance. He clears the tree line and spots the clearing. Then he slides to a halt right in front of the hidden cave entrance. His eyes narrow. He recognizes the unnatural architecture. He spots the mangled ghouls littering the grass. He realizes the terrorists built a subterranean escape route right under their noses. But something doesn't add up. Why are the escape vehicles already dead? He stares at the corpses, confused by the timeline of events. The tracking spell hums, pointing directly into the dark tunnel. Grave loses his mind. His elite scouts miss this flank. He screams at the empty forest, furious at the incompetence of his team. He draws his sword and charges into the dark to save his own life. He envisions Cheyenne manifesting in the sky to incinerate his soul for this failure. He grips the hilt of his weapon, sweating bullets. He promises to drag Selene out by her ear if he has to. Oil water drips from the ceiling as the squad navigates the catacombs. They drop down from a high ledge into the deeper cavern. Sean lands silently, confirming they reach the end of the tunnel. They enter a massive underground storage room, filled with wooden crates. Silber taps Roman's shoulder, preparing to scout ahead. He asks the spirits to check the hallway outside the heavy oak doors. He drops to his knees, channeling his mana. The tiny green fairies materialize from his palms. Roman watches the hallway, guarding the vulnerable spiritist. The fairies drift through the solid wood, undetected. Silber closes his eyes, syncing his vision with the spirits. The fairies fly up the grand staircase into the main mansion. Silber's eyes shoot open. He confirms they are directly beneath the mansion floorboards. Selena readies her sword, eager for the impending fight. She asks for the enemy headcount. She expects a small army. Silber shakes his head, cutting her excitement short. He scans the vision again, confused. He stammers. The halls are empty. There is not a single terrorist waiting in ambush. He admits he didn't check the upper floors, but the basement level is a ghost town. Ronya refuses to believe it. She demands to test her fire magic on someone. Roman crosses his arms. It smells like a lethal trap. Celine smirks. She doesn't care about traps. She loves traps. She claims she handles traps better than Ronya ever could. Silber analyzes the magical flow. He senses 0 traps on the doors. He gives the all clear. The path is safe. Celine kicks the door open. She leads her friends out of the storage room into the war zone. Sunlight streams through the grand windows of the main hall. A pale hand rests motionless on the polished marble tiles. Silber falls to his knees, cradling his unconscious mother. Shan scans the massive ballroom. No guards, no executioners. Celine checks the pulses. Every single hostage is alive, just deep asleep. Ronya smirks. She suggests the kidnappers took a bathroom break. She praises herself for the brilliant deduction. Silber screams at the mage to take the tactical situation seriously. Shan calls the squad over to the center of the room. She points to the black blood staining the marble. Someone fought a massive, brutal battle in this exact spot. Chloe deduces the terrorists didn't turn on each other. The Dark Order is ruthless, not stupid. She realizes someone else intervened before they arrived. Ronya yells in frustration. She wanted to be the hero today. Selene runs around the room, sniffing the dead bodies for clues. Sean states that a single combatant wiped out the entire ghoul horde. The wounds were inflicted by a unique weapon, a scythe. Old Roman praises the elf's incredible tracking knowledge. Ronya's eyes sparkle. She demands to know where this mysterious savior is. Selene points to the corner of the room. She draws her greatsword, ready to execute the remaining threat. She stands over the body of a masked man wearing a red scarf. She tilts her head, wondering if this is the guy who killed the monsters. Chloe senses a massive reservoir of demonic energy radiating from the corpse. Ronya yells at Selene for treating a dead body like an active threat. Selene pokes Reaper's head, telling him to wake up. Chloe tells her to stop playing with it. The necromancer is gone. Roman rubs his chin. The situation is baffling. Who saved the hostages? The heavy doors at the back of the hall suddenly creak open. A ghoul steps inside, reporting the tunnel construction is complete. 3 ghouls walk in carrying shovels, exhausted from the manual labor. They freeze. They stare at the girl standing in the center of the room. Celine steps right on top of Reaper's head to get a better look at the newcomers. The ghoul stares at the boot, crushing his master's skull. They raise their shovels, furious at the sheer disrespect. Shan draws her blade, recognizing the Dark Order robes. Celine leaps off the corpse without a second of hesitation. She rockets forward, a bright smile on her face. The ghouls panic, entirely unprepared for the incoming missile. 3 swings, 3 dead ghouls. The ambush ends in 2 seconds. Celine wipes sweat from her brow, disappointed by the lack of challenge. Ronya yells at her for hogging all the action. Chloe notes that there might be a larger force hiding upstairs. Roman agrees that they need to secure the perimeter. Chloe suggests evacuating the unconscious parents before exploring further. A hand grabs the main door handle from the outside. The squad braces for a real fight. Roman raises his shield. The door blasts open. Grave charges into the room, his sword drawn. Celine lowers her guard, happily shouting her instructor's name. Grave pants heavily, scanning the room for threats. He spots the cadets, unharmed. He lets out a massive sigh of relief when he sees the dead ghouls. The stress leaves his body in one massive wave. He realizes the optics of this situation are terrible. If the media finds out freshmen cleared the room, the Academy's reputation is ruined. A fantasy sequence shows front-page news praising Selene as the ultimate hero. Count Blonde reads the fake paper, praising her heroic potential. In engraved pictures, Cheyenne reading that exact newspaper. Celine stands proudly, oblivious to the political disaster. Grave knows the Demon King would butcher him for turning his daughter into a public figure. He yells at Celine to keep quiet about everything that just happened. Celine salutes him, missing the political implications. Grave lifts Reaper's corpse by the collar, forming a desperate cover story. He plans to take credit for the slaughter to keep Celine out of the spotlight. The ceiling detonates in a massive explosion of fire and debris. Grave shields his face from the falling rubble. Paladin Ian and Hero Van Lionheart drop into the room, weapons drawn. Lionheart orders his men to secure the hostages immediately. He expects a massive firefight with a terrorist cell. The heroes freeze. They stare at the cadets standing over the dead terrorists. Ronya blinks, wondering why the adults took so long to arrive. Grave cries silent tears of pure stress. His cover story just evaporated. Outside the city gates, Cheyenne practices his worried dad face. He stops humming. His sharp eyes spot something wrong. Civilians are running out of the city in a blind panic. He grabs a fleeing man and asks what caused the commotion. The man screams that demonic beasts breach the academy walls. Cheyenne's eyes narrow. Demonic beasts? The civilians sprint past him, leaving him standing alone on the cobblestone. He processes the information. The timeline makes no sense. A terrifying realization clicks into place. The kidnapping was just a diversion. The true target was the academy itself. He steps forward, his polished shoes clicking on the stone. He glares at the distant spires. Someone dared to attack his daughter's school. He drops the human facade entirely. He teleports directly into the academy courtyard. A massive purple summoning circle covers the entire plaza. He grits his teeth, his fangs elongating as true rage takes over. He promises to tear the terrorists apart, piece by piece. Cheyenne stands in the center of the magic circle, his dark aura flaring. A colossal gray-skinned arm erupts from the portal, reaching for the sky. He glares at the monstrous appendage. The arm crushes the academy buildings like toy blocks. Leah and Paraben watch from the shadows, celebrating their success. They recognize the Demon King standing in the blast radius. Cheyenne smiles a dark, twisted smile. He recognizes the energy signature. His fangs glint in the unnatural light. He drops into a battle stance, ready to obliterate the target. It is the right arm of Gultara, a previous long-dead Demon King. He considers the summon completely pathetic, a boring parlor trick. Dark purple lightning arcs from his body, tearing up the pavement. Leah and Paraben stare in pure terror at the overwhelming mana output. Cheyenne refuses to let this garbage threaten his daughter's school. He pulls his hand back, compressing pure demonic energy. The shockwave blows the clouds away. He fires a concentrated beam of pure apocalyptic force toward the sky. He mocks the terrorists for taking too long to recognize him. He declares their second mistake was bringing this trash into his territory. Leah asks who he is to judge their summoning spell. The pink-haired girl's eyes widen as the realization hits her. Cheyenne confirms his identity. He is the true Demon King. The beam slices clean through the colossal limb. He promises they will die for ruining his daughter's academy. The beam detonates, vaporizing the ancient arm into ash. Chunks of stone rain down on the courtyard. The massive explosion levels the remaining academy structures completely. The ancient arm crumbles into dust. Cheyenne stands untouched in the crater. He considers the threat neutralized. He dusts off his coat. Slightly annoyed, he ruined his suit. His red eyes snap wide open in sheer panic. He gasps. He looks at the leveled academy buildings. He just destroyed the whole campus. Back in the mansion, the heroes assess the damage. Ronya watches the adults argue over jurisdiction. Grave threatens the cadets into absolute silence, desperate to control the narrative. He wants to let the kids take the credit so the Demon King isn't discovered. He yells at Celine to keep her mouth shut. Celine crosses her arms, refusing to lie about their actions. Grave insists it isn't a lie. They didn't defeat the main boss anyway. He begs her to wait until they return return to the academy before speaking to the press. He places a hand on his hip, trying to sound authoritative. Lionheart detects a massive surge of demonic energy miles away. Grave realizes the spike came directly from the academy. He instantly knows Xion lost his temper and blew something up. The heroes march back to the town square to investigate. Celine picks up her father's scent lingering in the air. They find the evacuees huddled near a tavern. Ian approaches a villager, asking what caused the explosion. The villager screams, terrified of the armored paladins. He stammers, trying to explain the sheer scale of the monster. The adults listen to the frantic report. He explains a gigantic demon arm materialized over the school. Ian strokes his beard, a high-ranking demon summon. Lionheart admits he has never heard of a beast with that specific appearance. He glares at Ian, unwilling to admit his tactical judgment was wrong. The villager adds that an unknown hero intervened and destroyed it before it could attack. Grave breaks into another cold sweat. He knows exactly who that hero is. Ian deduces the savior must be an individual of immense power. Lionheart looks around, searching for the mysterious combatant. The paladins and the association were busy with the hostages. So, who wiped out an ancient demon king's arm? Ian suggests it could have been the man who ran toward the academy earlier. Selene perks up, a tall, handsome man with black hair. Grave stares at her, begging her silently to stop talking. She proudly declares the description matches her dad perfectly. Grave grabs his hair, screaming internally. The secret is unraveling right in front of him. Cut to the demon king's castle. A dragon flies over the dark spires. Xion sits on his throne, panting heavily from the sheer stress. Luke bursts into the throne room, demanding to know what happened to his lord. Xion wipes sweat from his brow. A disaster almost occurred. Luke prepares a spell to annihilate whatever threatened his master. Xion kicks him square in the chest. He glares at him, his red eyes glowing. He warns the commander to watch his tone when talking about Selena. Luke drops to his knees instantly, apologizing for his outburst. Xion rubs his temples. The magic dissipates. He explains he had to teleport away in a blind panic. Luke asks if a powerful holy knight ambushed him. Xion shakes his head. He heard Selene's voice approaching the academy ruins. He fled to avoid being caught in his demon form. He orders Luke to shut up before he executes him for mocking his retreat. Xion complains about the Dark Order trying to summon Gultara. He considers Gultara the worst demon king in history. He promises to track down the cult and destroy them for the insult. He leans forward, his eyes deadly serious. Luke interrupts. He has more pressing news. Xion stares at his commander, annoyed by the interruption. He tells Luke to go check on Selene and make sure she isn't crying over the destroyed academy. He stares at his gauntlet, remembering the blast. He asks what the important news is. He throws a tantrum, worried his daughter's education is permanently ruined. He orders his army to find out how sad she is right now. A few days later, Xion sits calmly at his desk. Luke slides a newspaper onto the mahogany wood. Xion smiles. The Holy See officially blamed the Dark Order for the attack. The academy rescheduled practical classes since the buildings are gone. He smirks, entirely pleased with the schedule change. He is thrilled. This means Selene will have more free time to visit him. Luke smiles, enjoying his master's good mood. Xion imagines Selene running up to him, asking for a home-cooked meal. He leans back in his chair, satisfied. He blushes, considering the terrorist attack a net positive for his parenting schedule. And Luke clears his throat. He points to the bottom of the page. He asks his lord what exactly he did to warrant this specific press coverage. Xion looks down, confused by the question. He stares at the paper, his good mood evaporating. Luke slides the front page forward. Xion reads the text. The headline reads, "The father of a cadet is revealed to be the one who defeated the ancient demon." The article brands him the ultimate hero. The paper details his humble life and heroic sacrifice to protect his daughter. The town praises his absolute devotion to justice. The reporters claim he stepped up purely for his livelihood. A fake reenactment shows him destroying the beast in a dramatic pose. Ronya is quoted calling him a true family man. The paper states he became the most warrior-like person alive. Count Bland confirms the man is a true hero on the record. A flashback shows Xion shaking hands with the noble. Grave gives a thumbs up, throwing fuel on the fire to protect himself. Xion's fangs clench. He sweats bullets. The Demon King just got officially recognized as humanity's greatest savior. He screams in pure agony. His daughter hates the Demon King, and now he is the ultimate hero. He falls out of his chair while his entire dark reputation crumbles into dust. Back in the underworld, Luan holds a glowing purple orb. The masked leader watches the flames dance inside the glass. He sits calmly at his desk, unbothered by the loss of his subordinates. He admits summoning Gultara's arm was just a test of their magical output. The test proved they can bypass the Holy Sea's barriers. He smirks. The destruction of the academy was merely a bonus. He smiles beneath the mask. Humans are easy to manipulate. He considers humans a trash species, easily controlled by fear. The flames form a twisted, mocking grin. He places the orb on a velvet pillow. The test was a complete success. He waits for the next phase. Bathory steps out of the shadows. She glares at him, her red eyes burning with anger. She asks how he can be so calm after losing Reaper, Paraben, and Leah. Luan scoffs. He never cared about the disposable pawns. Bathory crosses her arms arms, disgusted by his lack of loyalty. Luan tells her not to worry, as long as she follows his orders. She demands to know the next phase of the plan. Luan stands up. He prepares to secure the final piece of the puzzle, the missing catalyst required to complete the true summoning spell. Oh, the real child of Banwall, Shan,